And welcome everybody to Monday Night Mahjong in the ARML. I'm Blaine Singletary and I'm joined tonight by Eric, also known as Flonzo. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great. Glad to get started in the second half of the streams tonight. We have an exciting matchup with players in B1. We'll be doing a kind of round robin between the 5 of them. Every single round, one player will sit out. In that way, everyone will play 4 matches against different people. However, we'll be able to fit 5 people in.
That's right. So 4 of those games will be tonight, and the 5th game between these 5 people will be tomorrow night. And as you can see, we're getting ready to start the first game rather, in just a minute here, featuring Dakota, also known as G2 Wolf, Luke M, also known as Many Cats. We have Matthew and Travis, also known as Fake GG.
It looks like we'll have Luke as the first dealer, followed up by Matthew M. Then we have Travis as West, and last but not least, as North, we have Dakota. They should be getting started in just about a minute and a half or so. It's worth noting that none of these players have played any games this season. It is still the first round. Um, the 5th player, do we know who that is?
The 5th player, I believe, is it's not Luke. He's on the team already. Um, he's sitting out tomorrow night. That's right. It is Josh.
Ah,
It is
yes,
Josh
Josh. Right.
K.
Right.
So we'll be seeing him in the next game and moving forward. We were talking just before the broadcast. These are players all starting their seasons tonight, and really so far, even though this is the beginning of the season, you saw this yourself in the games earlier today. People are really playing like this is go time. They're not wasting any time and getting right down to business on this board.
Absolutely. It's almost as if people are treating the season overall like a hunch on it of itself. And we're in East 1 right now, so everyone's fighting for an advantage and trying to get ahead so that they can play the rest of the season more cautiously and not have to worry so much. Um, in the B3 games, there's a lot of promotion zones, but in B1, it's quite different. The promotions are more limited. But it looks like we are starting off, and it is Luke's dealership. One mana is the door.
There we go. And he immediately calls the West there with this honor heavy hand. He's got some pairs also in the North and also of the 9, so could turn this into many things. That West is not his seat, so we might be seeing a Honitsu out of this. We're seeing an Anko of the 4 pin over on the right in Matthew's hand, and some other scattered honors there as well. It'll be interesting to see what he does with those. Looking across, we see some sequences in the Manzu suits and a pair in the Sozu with some other shapes getting ready to form together, including a nice pair of Souths. And over on the right, we see a good presence of Sozu on the back half of it with a good sequence there. And picking up another sequence in the Manzu just now. So everyone's off to a fairly decent start right
Right.
now.
This West Wall really surprises me because it seems like the hand is very far away from any kind of definite Yaku. At first I thought the intention was Toy Toy, but it seems like there's a shift back towards Honitsu, which makes the 5-star discard on the second turn kind of unfortunate. So now with this one-mon draw, with the door pair, you're probably going to go for the Chanta, or you could still get Toy Toy Honroto Dora too. So, in the end, it seems like it's going to work.
Yeah, so we're seeing that come together with that North call just now. Again, not the seat wind, but there's plenty ways you can go from this hand right here.
Right. And to
Another
other
pair.
players at the table, this might look like a Manzu Honitsu.
That's right. Looking at these discards, you don't see many Manzu discarded. Only one, in fact. The
All right.
Sozu are growing pretty nicely in Matthew's hand right now. I got some a sequence and 2 pairs in that suit. Still has that Anko of the 4 pin. So I mean, this could be, especially picking up that 6, could be, well, not Pinfu, but perhaps starting off with a good, strong, confident reach, perhaps.
Could be the case. Now,
Another pair picked up.
Luke had another interesting choice between the 8 so and the 8 pin and decided to toss the 8 pin. Now, normally I would have tended to go for the 8 so there because there's one 9 pin out already, so I'd rather keep the 7 pin acceptance. But here with the Suji trap, it seemed like it was a good idea to keep the 7 so acceptance around. However,
Hmm.
as is, despite being Tenpai, Luke is immediately going to be chased by Richie, and it gets an Ipatsumo.
Oh! Incredible. Richi Ipatsumo. No Uradora, but doesn't really need it. That's 5,000 points to... Excuse me.
Yeah.
5,000 points to really get you started off on the right foot in this game.
And it's going to shut down that potential dealer Mangan. If Luke had won on the 1-mon, that would be Chantadora 3. Disgusting hand.
Well, now we're
All
looking
right.
at a Dora of the 6-mon, and a hand that has just picked it up, and there it is. A sequence in the Manzu already finished right out the gate, with a pair of the Pinzu and some other shapes forming up in the other suits as well. On Fake's hand, that's Fake GG Travis, we have some pairs in the east already. That is the Round Wind, and we see some sequences forming up in Pinzu and so on. Looking across, we see a sequence in the Manzu. Well, it's not quite a sequence just yet, but it's getting there. See some pairs there as well. And on the left, we have a great presence of the Pinzu right now, all those dots. You could turn that into many different things, but we'll see where that goes from there.
Right. So as dealer here, I'm really just looking for a standard, Richie Pinfu Tanyao kind of hand, though there are some options to move into a 6, 7, 8 Sanshoku, depending on whether you can get that 8 pin or not. Over to the right, we have an Ishanten. Can pawn the final copy of the tone. I think if it comes out, you probably have to take that, but it's disappointing because if you do that, you have to drop the 6-mon. So really, I think Travis would prefer to stick something to the 6-mon, drop the East pair, and go for something like a Richie Pinfudora 1, maybe Richie Tanyo Pinfudora 1. There's a lot of potential.
Any ways that can go, of course. Imagine he'd like to just get something to jumpstart this game, maybe get above 30K, and then once you get the dealership, start making some plays there.
Absolutely. Over to the left, there's still a little bit of a struggle with these awkward shapes, but there's a much more clear Pinzu Itsu. The problem is with that, it's a Penchon and another Penchon, I guess, and 2 of the 7 pins are out.
Right.
So I expect we're going to see that dropped soon if one of the other shapes fills. For now, though, hedging 6 blocks.
I see that. Yeah, it's you've got the 2 edge weights there holding back that from being a full straight. Calls one of them, though, right there.
Yes, the last one that could have been cheated because the final 7 pin is actually in Travis's hand over to the right. And speaking of Travis's hand, just drew Adora. Now, instead of taking the chance for a Tanyao, decides to take the shot at that east because you pull down, you're guaranteed a Yaku. Whereas if you pull the 6-mon or the 8-mon, you could potentially draw the 1-so and be in a no Yaku Furiten. However,
As it
draws the
is, gets
perfect.
the 7.
Yeah, and now it's on the 1-4-7, and it's Dakota who picks up the 1-so immediately afterwards.
Decides
Luckily,
to hang on to that. Another 1-so picked up, though. Very interesting there. This is actually a 1-4-7. Yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah, so I believe there's 3 left in the wall right now, but I kind of sped count that, so it might not be right. And the dealer chases.
Now we've got.
Is it 2-5, right? Yeah.
Yes, that's 2-5. It looked like another 3-sided weight there for a second, but not quite. Still, these weight tiles for everyone are getting picked up at a pretty remarkable pace, but there's the Roan on the 5-so. Richi Pinfu. Tanyao Dora 1 with 1 Uradora. Finish things out. Mangan for the dealer.
Now, if we had seen 2 Ura, that would have been a Hanemon there, but as such, it doesn't actually add anything to the hand. However, there is a dealer repeat with 1 home on the board. The door is the 4-so. Dealer's hand here looking kind of like a standard Ricci. You have Ricci Dora 1, maybe Pinfu if you draw the right shapes first. Over to the right, we have a hand that could very easily force a Sozo Hunitsu, has a pair of East, but can also go for a standard hand, probably looking to upgrade that Penchon, and indeed does cut it on the first turn. Across the way, we have something that looks much more like a Tanyao, but kind of clunky shapes overall. Can accept the 4-so Dora, though. And then over to the left, we also have a very standard hand. It would be nice to get a 1-2-3 Sanshoku, but that's a little bit far, so for now, just going to aim for efficiency.
Exactly right. And he's got that. Dealer's got that confidence right now, and is already pretty nicely in place to convert once again here. So he does give that east up to Travis there, who's got a pretty good-looking hand at this stage of the game as well. That Anko of the
Right.
7 so. It's definitely
Yeah.
competitive as well.
Yeah, and this hand is nice. It has an overflow of blocks, and you have two bad shapes, the 7-9 mon and the 1-2 pin. But as soon as one fills, you just junk the other one, and you have a very good E-shunt.
And there you go right there, calling this 789.
Yeah, and that'll leave Travis in 2 Shanten from both a normal hand and a Honitsu.
Hmm. I think he goes for the Honitsu here to start to try to catch things up. And with that draw of the Haku, that's going to, or Hatsu rather, that's going to definitely help in that regard. Calls the Hatsu there. And now
So now
Tenpai on 3.
yeah, we have a guaranteed manga to the right. That's going to be Ton Hatsu Honitsu Dora 1 for 5 Han. Unfortunately, 3 of the 3s are gone, one of which is locked up as the door indicator and will never see the light of day. And the other 2 seem pretty well locked in the hands, so you're really hoping for something like a 5-so draw for an improvement. But even that's going to be a little bit difficult to get. Only 1 left in the wall.
And meanwhile, taking a look at the left on Manycats's hand, it's got some potential, but I don't see that it'll really be able to get there in time. You have an almost Ipeko with the 1, 2, and 3. Of course, you can't really get it because the ones are already out, and I'm just noticing that now, actually. But
Yeah, and as is, with that 1 pin gone and no more Ipeko, you could even try and force it into Tanya, though it looks like Luke is going to instead aim to improve the shapes and cuts the duplicates. The dealer's hand is also Ishanten here, has good shapes all around. Unfortunately, did backfire on that Penchon with that 2-pin, the 1-2 pin drop, but doesn't seem to be in any risk of dealing into this 1-2.
right, that 3 so is pretty well locked up. And that's your key to possibly doing something with this hand.
Yeah. Now, Dakota here is in a bit of an awkward position, is probably trying to play it at least a little bit safe. There's an overflow of shapes. You'd like to cut the 7-8 so to guarantee Tanya, but it's very rough to cut those tiles given the hand you see to your left if you're in Dakota's seat.
We
So
have a
instead,
call from
yeah,
Dakota going for, looks like Tanyao at this moment, or maybe just to get Ricci by the end of this hand. We'll see if the Chun drops, but that does look maybe a little dangerous with there only being 1 on the board right now.
right, yeah, versus an open Honitsu could very easily be a Tonki, and now this 8-so is scary as well. So it looks like the 5-pin pair is coming out. Now, dealer is Tenpai here on 2 5-so, but won't be able to win on this 2-so if it does come out because it's a no Yaku Tenpai. Just aiming for the repeat.
That's right. Thanks to that Chun staying in the hand.
Now, Travis could have changed weights to the 2-so, 7-so Shampon, which is technically better based on what we can see, but that would have meant dropping the Dora, and that's always scary this late in the hand.
hmm Everyone's ready to go out here, it seems, but has just one little thing holding them back, be it a tile or the absence of one.
Now, there's one 3-so left in the wall, and Travis does have the high draw.
That is true. I'll come down to this. I think right now everyone's just trying to find that one last discard that doesn't get them into trouble.
Yeah. Dealer, in fact,
And
breaks
there's the
Tenpai
fold.
there, not wanting to toss the 1-so, which is
Hmm.
Suji to the Dora, and it turns out that Travis is the only person Tenpai and gets 3k for his efforts.
Well, there you go. A good way to kick off your dealer turn, as it were, as we move into East 3 with the Dora as 7 pin. See a few pairs in this dealer hand, starting us off with the 4 and the 5 of Pinzu and a 3 of the Sozu. And looking on the right, we see a couple more pairs there as well. Actually, 3 of its own. And a few smattering of honors that they're currently trying to deal with. Looking across the way, we have a couple pairs there and a shape, which can become a sequence later on, perhaps. And on the left, a sequence already locked in with the Sozu and an Anko of the 8 Mon. That's 2 sets and a pair. Ready set to go in this hand. This is looking furthest along, perhaps.
Very nice draw for the dealer here. It picks up outs to a 5-6-7 Sanshoku Tanya Eldora 1. A lot of potential there. Can start calling in the mid row too if he feels pressured. Over on the right in Dakota's hand, we see one of those pairs, the 8-so, become an uncle. And this hand can get Sanoko with that 5-pin draw now. It's Ishanten, could get also an Ippei Kodor 1. Lots of options there. Across the way, those Manzu shapes are easy to
リーチ
expand with the Sanmenchan and 2 Ryanmens in the Pinzu. That's currently 2 Shanten, but it's actually the hand on the left that's the fastest gets a Richinomi on a 2 5-pin weight, which is 3 left in the wall.
Right, and the other ones seem to be pretty locked up, with maybe the exception of that 2 pin in the dealer's hand. But seems like they're just about to commit to Chitoi here, perhaps?
That could be the case.
Still a ways off, but only 2 tiles. You
Right.
define that as a ways.
I imagine we'll see the 9-mon come out. Well, there we go. Because, well, I guess it passed from Toyman, but it's also outside of the early 7-mon that Matthew discarded, so it's relatively safe. And this is going to give Travis a few more tiles to kind of decide whether he wants to push or not. And this is a hand that you want to push as Stealer because you can see at least 3 on here, the 2 Dora plus whatever Yaku you get. Oh, and that 1-pin draw is going to save him from having to drop that 2-pin.
Absolutely. Good pick up there. Picks up another pair with the 5-so now. Puts it back.
Oh, rejects the Ishanten, goes for the normal hand, but the normal hand is 3 Shanten, unfortunately, at least from what I can see. That north is once cut, so it's not awful, but you are dealing it into the
Yeet.
north player, so there might be some pressure there.
We have Reach called across the way now. They're looking for a... looks to be the
5, 8, 10? Yeah.
There it is, 5 and 8. Oh,
No.
but it will drop the 2
no.
right into Matthew's hand for Rishi Sanshoku Dojun. And 5,200 points. Plus the pot gives it 7,800.
Right, I forgot to mention that hand could have gotten Sanshoku. It wasn't just a Richie.
Oh, hey, that was a relatively late development, looked like. But we are moving on to East 4. With Dakota as dealer now. The Dora is 3-so, and we see one of those in this opening dealer hand, part of a completed sequence, and 2 pairs to go along with it. Looking on to the right, we see a pair of the Manzu there, which could become a sequence, and some other shapes that look promising but need a little bit of work. And up across, we see a great presence of the Manzu with some sequences shapes forming up there and a completed sequence in the Sozu. And on the left, we see a couple pairs of the Hatsu and Manzu. But a little bit, it'll be interesting to see where that one goes.
So
It looks okay.
Dakota here drew a 4-so, and despite having complete shapes, decided to keep it. And in this case, it was very useful because that allows you to accept an extra Dora, which was drawn right afterwards. It also gives you some outs to shift over to a Sozu Itsu, though that seems unlikely now, given that things seem pretty solid with that hand. I think you're just going to have to shave down one of those pairs, either the 9-mana and 4-pin, and go forward from there. Otherwise, the rest of the table is also progressing steadily. Over on the right in Luke's hand, there's still a couple of difficult shapes to fill, particularly that 8-9-so, but with a few sticky tiles can easily form replacements with things like anything around 5-so, drawing the Dora 3-so, for example. Oh, and a nice drop
I
of the
don't think they're
dealer.
going to have a chance to get that Dora 3-so. There's only one left. And the dealers just picked it up for an interesting little overlapping weight there. With
And
a
I think
2, 3, 4.
I think that's entirely the right choice because now you can cheat the 6-so and you can have Tanyao Dora 3. Whereas if you keep the 1-so and you kind of float the 3, 4-so around, not only do you risk giving up the Dora later, but you don't have a way to call the hand easily. Right. Well, it's Toyman who's closest to contesting that, really. Toyman has a very wide Ishanten, though. Could potentially end on a free 10 if the 8-so is drawn, but that's a risk that they're willing to take.
Hatsu called by Travis there. Moving
Yeah.
ahead to a more normal looking hand, but probably
リーチ
looking to get some headway here in this game. We have Ricci called by Matthew across the way, though. As you mentioned, he looked at the closest. He'll be waiting on the 3 and
6.
the 6. Yes, 3 and 6.
Yes.
And as we
And
know, all 3 of the 3s are locked up. I don't see those coming out.
yeah, Dakota has a good Ishan 10 of his own here. Decides to toss the Nakasuji 4-pin into the Ricci to kind of play around it a little bit, but doesn't give up any efficiency in the process until now. And I think this move is almost a mistake just because you're giving up your callable efficiency by dropping a Ryanman there. And you know where most of the door are, so there's not as much to be afraid of there. I might have just shoved the 8-so back or put the 5-pin through. And they're risky tiles for sure, but you have a good hand as dealer. I think you should fight
Mhm.
for it
Right,
rather
it's
than
a
trying
high
to go
value.
around.
It's a high value hand, and you're the dealer. You just want to convert on something here, especially in. Well, you're in second place, but you could be doing. Like, if you want to get a shot at the lead, you've got to
スモ
start now, pretty much. But the leader does pick up the 6-so for Ricci, Sumo, Pinfu, and Tanyao.
Nice 13-26 due to the 24 on a sumo. Very respectable hand there. Unfortunately, Dakota's going to lose the dealership there with that great hand, but would have lost it if he had played aggressively anyways. So,
It just strikes very quickly.
Luke here decides to toss the seat wind east on the first turn rather than the south, which could be dangerous against double south later. I've seen that's a personal choice some people make, and older styles of play tend to do the discards in that order as well, so that's always interesting to look at. His hand is fairly standard, needs a little bit of tender love and care to get anywhere, but has one Dora 5-pin in a good shape. Over to the right, see a whole bunch of pairs. We're on 4 pairs now. Does have the pair of the Chun as well, so can open this for a standard hand. No Dora quite yet, but could potentially slip it in. Across the way, lots of pairs as well, also on 4 pairs with a Yakuhai pair, and can much more easily use the 5 Pandora and develop towards a normal hand. And then lastly, over to the left, probably the clunkiest hand of them all, Dakota has some
ポン
decent shapes, could force a Tanya, but it'll take a little bit while before that gets anywhere.
We have the Red Dragons called by Matthew, looking to get this hand moving and get really the whole game just chugging a bit faster here. With a lead like that, you just kind of want this game to end so you can cash in those points.
Absolutely. It's a fairly good Ishan ten as well. You can pawn, you can Shi, and of course pawn is very effective in 4-player. Because you can take it from anyone. So you can almost triple up the acceptance for a pawn as compared to Chi, which can only take the left. So there's a difference between like direct efficiency, in which case we'd say there's 1, 2, 3, 4 types of tiles you can take, and there's X number of those tiles left, and virtual efficiency, I think it's called, where you can kind of double up the tiles that you can pawn because you can get them from multiple sources. So the callability of an open hand is always something to consider when you're going forward. And sometimes you have to do some pretty counterintuitive things to get it finished.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen plenty of those situations yourself.
As
In
someone who
A1.
likes, yeah, as someone who likes to open a lot and plays against people who like to open a lot, I am well accustomed to seeing those kinds of creative calling play.
チ
Unfortunately, in this situation, it doesn't look like that Luke has been able to get the hand into a callable situation. Still a bunch of difficult shapes and terminals here. It looks like without a hard fight, the hand's not going to go anywhere. And it's Dakota that's made the second move here and got in an Altosuke Ishan 10, wants to force Soten Shoriyaku, but now with the 6-pin draw, could potentially form another shape to replace that 2-3-so.
And seems to. Well, no, that's not right. So drop the 3. Never mind.
Yeah, it could have been
Yeah.
worthwhile to keep the 3 around, but having dropped the 7 and the
Right.
1s, you risk fruit in there. It's getting late, so Luke is probably thinking a little bit more about playing defensively rather than keeping the dealership, which is unfortunate because it's South 1, it's your final dealership, and you're at 18K, but you technically aren't in last place, so dealing into a large hand here would be catastrophic.
Should note that Matthew is 10 pie now, waiting on the 1 so, 4 so. And the 4
That would.
so just picked up by the dealer, and another one picked up by
Ooh.
the dealer.
And unfortunately, if
No.
yeah, if Luke pushes, the 1 so is probably going to come out here, and that's going to deal into a Yakuhai Chun that's going to be 1K.
1K and moves this game along, more importantly, for the advantage of Matthew, as we are already going to South 2. The
Now
Dora
it's
is 8 pin.
And before you start on the hands, just look over to the right. That's the hand we need to pay
Yeah.
attention to this round. Three
Already
Dora.
two Ankos and a pair with that 3 Dora, mind you.
Home.
And yeah, as if sensing the urgency, Dakota is calling the Hatsu pretty early on for that hand, which also looks like it could be a contender here. If anything, to just help disarm this hand that we're seeing on the right side of our screens.
Yeah. Dakota has a pretty nice hand here with decent shapes other than the 6-8 so, and also has one dealership left. So Dakota's goal here is really going to be to approach 30K without letting the other two players, that is Luke and Travis, get anywhere closer because at that point you're risking third or fourth place when you can be sitting in a comfortable second.
But taking a look at the hand of many cats here, we have 3 sequences already locked in. With another shape that could easily become one, it's wide open. So
And
we have another contender here. Don't sleep on this one.
I'm not sure I've read it correctly, but that north was dropped from a pair, which I believe means that Luke turned down Ishanten, perhaps looking for something more expensive. Wanted the Pinfu, didn't want to call the north, and there's only one north left in the wall because Dakota discarded the first one on the first turn. So I imagine that's why the Ishanten was turned down.
Right. When you're that deep, well, you're not in last anymore, but you are still deep. So you want to start looking for value here in the South round, especially missing your last dealer turn
And
there.
And unlike Dakota and Travis, who have one more, that's it for Luke. So Luke can't afford to be winning petty cheap hands unless Luke is
Eat.
content to settle for third place. But now an awful thing happens. We have a Ricci here. Now, it's an interesting choice because if you Ricci like this, you have less waiting tiles, but you could potentially get San Anko on the 7-mon or the 5 so. However, it's arguably a much worse weight. So I think with 3 Dora, I personally would have preferred to see the 6-9 mon weight and increase my sumo chances. Oh no, there's the 9-mon backfire immediately. However, this hand will be giant if it's sumoed. We're looking at Ricci, Sumo, San Anko, Dora 3. So a single Urodora will bring this into Vaimon range.
But as you can see, this hand is effectively mochi mochi with the other 2 hands holding on to the pairs that it needs. So
Yeah.
that's unfortunately going to be a pretty slim chance of those coming out unless some serious restructuring happens.
And here, though, something interesting that happens: the 4-mon makes the 7-mon Suji. However, we've seen that despite that, Luke, first of all, probably doesn't want to fold this hand given the score situation, and also is just wary of that 7-mon, probably because it's near the Ricci tile, which was kept later. So if you had something, well, I can't really think of a lot of things other than San Uncle that you would give up a Ryanmen for, unless maybe it's like a Shampoo on the Hatsu and the 7-mon. But it's near the Ricci tile, so perhaps a little bit more caution than normal, despite
7
it being
so,
Suji. Yeah.
and the 7 so is what the player cross is looking for right now. We see one of those locked up in a hand. The
Eat.
other
Yeah.
one locked up in the other reach hand, and now
Oh,
another
no.
reach hand, but puts 7-mon out!
And it's a great place to hit here because that basically seals Luke's fate. Well, I don't want to jinx anyone, but at 9,900 versus 25,700, it's going to be very hard to claw your way back up and then consider getting a second place. So Travis here ends up recovering despite 2 backfires on the 9-mon sumo. And it seems like we're having a slight connection issue here, folks, so just bear with us and we'll join you again in the first few discards of this hand. There we
And
go.
we're back.
Seems like we need to do a 180.
And
Perfect.
there we go. The door is 6 pin here in South 3. We see a sequence already formed up in the dealer's hand with a couple of pairs in the Manzu. Over on the right, we see some honors there, a pair, and a completed sequence in the Manzu. And you could do something with that 4-mon you just picked up with it as well. Looking across, we see some good sequences in the Pinzu right now. You could easily devote your entire hand to that suit if you wanted to really throw a Hail Mary on this score right now. And looking on the left, we see some sequences in Manzu with some pairs, and also in the honors as well. So, interesting
Yeah,
start to a lot of these people.
absolutely. Dealer's hand here can have that 789 Sanshoku, though if you get the 4-mon first, you're not going to force it, because that fills your bad shape and you just devote the 8-8-mon to the pair. This also makes things difficult. We might see a 5-mon drop here. Yeah, so it seems like Travis is both going to commit to the Sanshoku, expand the 579 so to Yuan-kan, and then maybe even preemptively Suji trap the 8-mon if in case you end up on the Shampon.
It picks up that sequence for the 3-4-5 in Pinzu.
And notably also Suji traps the 8 so ahead of time.
Ah, see.
All right,
With that 5
over
going out.
over to the right we have an Ishan 10 as well. It's not as expensive and it still has wiggle room. If you
1、
draw something like a 5-pin, then you can accept Dora, but it's a fast Riichi from the
1、
dealer on the 7-mon Penchan for Riichi Sanshoku.
Going back on that Suji trap, but still a pretty sneaky wait. You only see the 5-mon to really is the only real clue to it, I would say, but
And with 3 5-mon out now, because Matthew tossed one since he was safe against the dealer, it's a 1-chance tile, so someone might use that as an
right.
excuse to push it. Now, when it comes to 3s and 7s,
1、
1 chance with a 5 isn't quite as good because there's still shapes like Penchan, Kanchan, Champon, and Tanki that can accept it, but it's better than nothing.
つも
But who cares if you consume
But yeah,
it?
no traps necessary when the wall does it for you. For Riichi, Sumo, Sanshoku Dojun.
That's
That'll
gonna
be
be
a dealer repeat.
yeah, and
That's
a
right.
4K hit to everyone. And starting it off with this hand, Dora 2 and a Yakuhai pair, and decent
Wow.
shapes all around other than that 8-9-mon, but that can change out completely if you draw something near the 3-mon. And we see one of those Hakus isolated in Matthew's hand to the left, so I imagine that will come out soon. Over to the right, we have, well, it pales in comparison to the dealer hand, but it's not too half bad. You could expand the Sozu shapes. You might even be able to get a Sozu Ipeiko or even an Itsu if you're really creative with it. Across the way in Luke's hand, we see a nice locked-in Dora, acceptance for another Dora, and everything seems to point towards a Riichi Pinfu and hopefully Dora 2. And then lastly, over to the left, we have the most bog-standard hand of them all. Just needs to develop those Kanchans and Manzu, really, to go anywhere.
Hmm. But meanwhile, the dealer's hand seems to be angling even more towards Shanta, I would say, discarding that 3, though you still have that pair of the 2-pin to deal with.
Right. Now, the only reason I'm not thinking too much about Chanta here is because of the 2-pin pair exactly.
ポン
Those are Dora. You don't want to ever have to drop one because you can't get Chanta with a
Right.
pair of those. But with the Haku, you don't need Chanta anymore. So this is going to
There
be
you go.
another 7-mon Penchan. It worked out well last time, and there's 3 left in the wall here, so we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. I'm always curious of people going for the same weight as they did the round before. You know,
Now, if you're
obviously
an
it's a different situation, different layout, different tiles. But
if
what are
you're
your
an
thoughts on that?
if you're an occult player, this is called an Ayahai, or a tile that's significant. If you see a tile that's cropping up again and again, some people use that in their strategy. They think it's more likely to come up again or be relevant in some way, and they'll use that information. Of course, there's no provability for that kind of theory. It is an occult
Right.
luck-based theory, but that's what people would call it. In this case, it's significantly worse because we don't see the 5-mons out, and it doesn't look like Manzu is particularly easy to get in the wall. You see, a lot of the upper Manzu is still well protected in players' hands, or in, I guess it is in the wall. In this case, no one has a whole lot around it. But it's not a tile that I imagine people will just carelessly drop, other than maybe Luke, who is Ishanten now, and would have incentive to just Tsumugiri it.
Dakota dropping that 9 mon would kind of put the 7 mon next on the chopping block, I would imagine. But, well, it depends on
Yeah.
if you pick up the 6, though. In that case, you're good.
Yeah, in that case, you're saved. Over on the left, that 6 mon is not going to be flowing over to Dakota's hand, so it
Oh,
comes out.
drops the 7! Sorry
Yeah,
to
so
interrupt,
no,
but
no,
there you
that's
go.
right. That's relevant. So yeah, Matthew had a 6 mon on con ready to go, but didn't want to con yet because upon picking up a 7, it became 666 678. But we probably would have seen that
Mhm.
con a few turns later if things had developed, and at that point, Dakota probably would have dropped that 7 mon easily. But it just flowed out naturally as is.
Well, we now go to the second repeat of the dealer now, with Travis now seeing as a considerable contender for first place with just about 10,000 away. The Dora is 7 so, and we see one of those in this hand to start with, along with a pair of. Oh, picks up another one just
Oh,
now,
oh
decides to
no.
drop it.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
tough,
if you're just going for pure efficiency, I think that's the right move, but
but
you
you
may
could
have some
even
thoughts.
Yeah, I might have just gone with the 1 pin there. I thought it's sad that the 9 so came out over the 1 pin, but if you're thinking about Itsu, then that's a consideration for keeping the 1 pin. It just always hurts to drop a useful middle Taldor that early into the hand. And now if you pair up the 6 mon, sorry, if you triple up the 6 mon or the North, you'll be extra sad because that would have left an opportunity for a 4/7 so wait. So I might have kept on to it a little bit longer and relied on the North as my potential safe tiles for this hand.
In this case, hanging on to that 1 pin seems to be paying off, picking up the 2 pin now right after it.
Yep, and if you draw the 3 pin, you're in pretty good shape for this hand. You're not guaranteed the Itsu, but you can drop the pair of Norths or the pair of 6 mon and have Richi pin Fudora one at the least.
Let's take a look at this hand on the right here. We have a now called a triplet of the 9 mon with a Anko of the 9 pin and a sequence in the 9 pin. Not a very expensive hand, at least not at the moment, but definitely a
Un-
quick one here forming up.
Unfortunately, because the two 9 sos are already out, it's impossible to get the Sanshoku Doko, the elusive Yaku, where you have 3 triplets of the
Mhm.
same number. So in this case, it's going to be a Hatsutanki. It's a once dropped honor weight, so it's quite powerful, and this is going to be a double south. So not terrible either.
Mhm. Maybe
Oh, and
some.
immediately so
Oh, nice. Getting the double south for 3,800 points and moving us on to the next round. All last, South 4. The
all
Dora
right.
is the 9 Manzu. So what are you seeing right now? I heard you.
So dealer's hand. Well, Dakota's situation is pretty simple. Just want to wrench on get over 30k if you can, and then you can take a stab at Travis if you happen to have been hitting Travis in the process. But really, you might just have to settle for a third place as is. This hand isn't too bad. You can accept the Dora 9 mon, but that's not going to speed up the hand at all. So you're just looking for the Richi Pinfu here. You want to draw that 7 pin first and see what can be done. It'll be difficult, and this is a difficult draw too. You can do
There's
something.
that Dora.
You can do 4 mon here and hedge 6 blocks. Try and use the Dora, but if the the 6/8 pin pulls first, you probably drop the 8/9 and play it efficiency. Over to the right, I'm not seeing a lot that I like there. It's not the kind of hand you want. Even to minimize damage, it's a very slow hand with low value. You can try and force a 1/2/3 Sanshoku and then get the door one with a 9 mon. Yeah, needs to get a little bit creative with them to get anything useful done. Across the way, that's pretty interesting. You have Ankon of the 1 mon ready to go with a 2 mon attached to it, and we saw that from Matthew in a previous hand. Where the con will be deferred until a better shape is drawn. And then lastly, over to the left, the point lead, looking to contend with the point leader, Travis is going to be going for something like a Mongun, but that's not a Mongun, unfortunately. So it's going to be a 5/6 pin wait for Tanya only, content with a good second place.
That is a good strong second if you can convert here. Though we're seeing the other pair of the 5 pin already locked up in the hand across, and you have the 6 pin sitting rather loosely, but sitting nonetheless, in Dakota's hand. That leaves one more 6 pin in the wall,
Now, the saving grace here is, despite the fact that that 6 pin
which
was
just gets picked
drawn,
up. Oh.
you can still chi the 4 pin and discard from your Anko of 6 mana and get a 4/7 pin weight instead.
Hmm.
And because that's a very natural thing to do, it expands the weight. I imagine we'll see that happen regardless of whether Travis knows that those 5 pin, 6 pin are all gone.
Very interesting.
Dealer here
Feel like-
still hasn't been able to make a single improvement. You see that just row of Sumogiri tiles, the second row completely useless. It's been, what, 7 tiles now? Oh, a Khan!
Yeah. Ooh.
And that Khan is nice. I kind of agree with it because in
If
this
you want to
case,
try for extra points,
yeah, the extra points to get you above into first place. Unfortunately, it gives up your opportunity to get that improvement. It doesn't matter because that last 6 pun comes out from Luke. A brutal 1,000 points will end the game with Luke in fourth, Dakota in third. We have Travis in second, but a very respectable second. And lastly, first we have Matthew. So the point breakdown is plus 39 for Matthew. Travis gets plus 19. Dakota takes a minus 15, and Luke takes a minus 42.
some pretty strong plays there, definitely. And we're seeing the leaderboard updating right now on the right side of your screen. Once again, just like we were talking about at the start of this, it's people really playing hard despite this being just the beginning of the season.
Right. I have to say, though, compared to the B3 games that I viewed earlier today, this was a lot more tame, and we saw more folding and people playing with safety in mind. That being said, yeah, there have been a lot of aggressive pushes for value. Maybe not so much pushing against Reachies unless it was needed, like in the case of Look with the low points, but definitely a lot of moves that cut off efficiency to go for higher scoring hands, which is kind of what we mentioned in the beginning, where people are trying to put themselves above the pack going forward.
Mhm. But just as you said, there were a lot more. There were also times where people kind of backed down from those pushes as well. Just keeping themselves in the middle, in the place they're at now, and just living to fight another day. And so now you see the scores on the full B1 division now. Matthew will take fourth just from the start here. Travis taking sixth, and Dakota and Luke taking up 18th and 19th place. But again, still very early. I mean, you still got 5 other players who haven't even played a game yet. So anything can happen with these standings at the moment.
Luke will get 3 more chances at redemption against this group. I believe he's in all the games that we'll be covering tonight.
That's right.
So
And
best of luck to him.
I do believe the next group is starting to queue up here for the next game, which will feature Matthew, Luke, Josh, and Travis, with Matthew being first dealer here. Oh wait, is that from before? Oh no, I'm looking at that wrong. Okay, sorry. Uh, yes, it's Josh who will be joining in. Yes, Josh will be the third dealer in this situation, as you can see on the screen now. So,
To answer Akirumi Bro's question in the chat, yes, you do need to be a resident of the US in order to join this league. We have had substitutes from Canada, but they can't actually qualify for any of the division upgrades or anything. They're just there to play as substitutes.
in the event that people drop out, but of course, that does bring up a good point in that registration for our fall season is open right now. So you can find the registration form at americanreachy.org. And if you are in the States and can compete in this league, if you sign up now, you can also be eligible to be a substitute if we need you. So you have that going for you for a nice little dry practice run in the league should that situation pop up.
And it's also a great opportunity to play practice games with people that don't count in the league and get some insight from some of the more experienced players who are always happy to help in our What Would You Do channel.
And you're one of those people, absolutely, Eric.
Oh, sometimes, if I have time, I always love to say a word or two about situations. I'm pretty standard when it comes to moves. I play by the books a lot of the times. Occasionally, I'll have a quote unquote creative hot take and whatever, but I tend to keep things basic.
Which can be a good, balanced perspective, if you will.
Absolutely. So of these new players, so Josh has joined new. Josh is another player in the Reachinomi New York City club, as well as Dakota. I didn't mention that before. So I've played against both of them before. It seems like they tagged out for the team.
Mhm.
Josh is pretty action heavy player as well. So we should have an exciting match coming up. Josh is pretty well disciplined though, just that he plans a lot to Mawashi. For those of you that don't know, Mawashi means you kind of work around a hand without fully folding. But the game has started, and it's Matthew who's the first dealer.
And here we go with a pair of the white dragons to start with. Of course, the Dora is 9, so we see one of those in this hand, part of a shape coming together. Also a pair of the 4 pin and a pair of the 6 mon. Looking on the right in Luke's hand, we see a pair of the Sozu, as well as picking up a. Well, that's not a pair. It's close, though. It's the 5-6 of the Pinzu, which could turn into something there. Looking across, we see, well, a pair there as well, and some other shapes that look a little bit promising. And on the left, on Travis's end of things, we see a couple pairs in the Pinzu, as well as some other shapes that will need some work to really turn into something. But that 3-mon pickup certainly helps.
So the dealer's hand is quite interesting here because you have the potential to pair up the Dora and go for Cheetah, but you also have the Haku pair, which is very tempting to call off the bat. However, if you look at the pair composition of the hand overall, it's a lot of middle tiles. You have the 6-mon, the 4-pin, the 4-so, and those aren't necessarily easy to get. Um, so while some players might be tempted to go for Toy Toy, it's also well worth considering passing at least the first Haku and going for a closed hand here. And it seems like Matthew has gone lucky and is an Ishan 10 for Chitoy, potentially with a Dora Tonki or a Dora pair.
Right. Well, we'll certainly see what happens with if and when that white dragon shows itself. But 5 pairs being Ishan 10 for Chitoy. And that ends at the crossroad. I'd normally stick with Chitoy, but
I agree in this case. I feel like the pairs are too hard to call, and you want to be able to use that Dora in there easily. Looking
meanwhile at
around,
Anko, I see an Anko of the 1-mon going with
yeah.
some a good Manzu presence over in the hand on the right.
Could shift into an E-Peiko, but we also see a lot of pairs forming to the right. We see, oh, I guess there's only one pair across the way. That is an Ishan 10, and I believe, yeah, that's a sticky Ishan. No, I read that incorrectly. It's not a sticky Ishan 10, it's just an Ishan 10. Wide waiting area in the Sozu from Josh. A little bit confusing to look at, actually, from my perspective. And
Yeah, it's
over to the left, some minor improvements made, but still nothing to write home about yet.
passed on calling the 8-mon there. I feel like you could have almost dropped out that 9 pin and just gone for a Tanyao, especially now that we hit the middle of the hand, and that's what they're going to do with the 3 pin instead, keeping that 8-mon as the pair, perhaps.
Right, yeah, that seems like a fairly solid idea. The dealer here, interestingly, kept the Chun over the Hatsu. I believe the Chun and the Hatsu were both. Oh no, the Chun was 3 times cut at the time, where the Hatsu was only twice cut. So a slight error in efficiency, but it really doesn't matter in the end as both are drawn. Still unable to find Tenpai though.
But look at this pickup
Yeet.
over across now. That's going to put that hand from Josh into Tenpai and calling Ricci immediately.
Right, so
Waiting now on.
it's going to be a battle of this 8-so, which is 1 left, versus the 6-pin, which is 1 left, and that's a player to our left. That's Travis, who has the Tanyao only, versus the Ricci Dora one. Oh, sorry, Ricci Itsudora one. That expanded 5-so shape kind of hides it a little.
Interesting. So it's a duel for sure. Buckle your seatbelts. Picks up an Anko of the 2-so there. I'll move the hand a bit closer.
But with only 1 draw left,
Well, that's a
doesn't
good
find
draw to
Tenpai.
get, but not quite it. And there's the white dragon. That'll end this hand with many cats paying the no 10 payment to the rest of the players. And that does mean a dealer repeat with one Honba added to the pile.
Yeah, dealer was able to get into Tenpai for that Chitoi there, but unable to get the run with how late it was.
But this
As
is
is,
quite an opening hand, though. Take a look at this.
absolutely, very wide shape in Sozu, already easily expandable to a 258, so the Manza needs a little bit of work, but everything else looks pretty golden. And over to the right, that hand has a choice now,
Wow.
whether to go for a Honitsu or a standard hand, and could even go for a Toy Toy. And this is something we've seen from Luke before, calls in a way where a lot of Yaku are acceptable,
Boom.
and goes for Toy Toy this time around, which makes sense to me.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got, like you said, it's early on. You have plenty of chances to pick up that final 2-pin, or choosing however you go with the 1 or the red dragon there, depending on how that all shakes out. But take a look at I want to skip to the hand on the left here. Has that Yaku already taken care of as well with the green dragon, the Anko there.
Boom.
And a sequence in the Pinzu and a pair already set. That may not have much in the way of value, though you do have a Dora and a possible Khan when you decide to call it.
The hand not quite in the right place for a con yet. I imagine at the very earliest, well now, you could con and hope to draw something around that 6-0. However, with the 4-0 gone, it seems like Travis is hesitant to add more Dora to the board just yet, and instead,
Gee.
Suji traps 9, so hoping for a 6-pin draw or something around the 6-pin to expand the shapes.
Kang.
Oh.
There's the Khan. The 2-so comes out, and the new Dora is 8 Mon. Not really
That's not-
seeing those drawn yet. Oh, there's one picked
Yeah.
up, speak of the devil.
With 2 discarded, it's very difficult to use for a Toy Toy hand, so it comes right out.
Oh, right. I didn't notice that.
Oh, regardless, the dealer is Tenpai here on the 5-pin. It's going to be a Tanya Onomi. No open Ipekos in this league.
That's right. And there's only, as you said, one 5-pin left. I don't see the 5-pin coming out of Travis's hand.
Yeah, I can't imagine it does, no matter what the upgrade's there.
Kind of an interesting spot there, just figuring out how to move from here. Dealer is changing their weight to 7-pin now, and just gets picked up by Travis.
And I like that move because on top of the 5-pin being weaker, visibly weaker, you can see 2 5-pins. It also Suji traps a 7-pin. Now it's a weak Suji trap, but with a few of the 9-pin and the 8-pin out, it might tempt someone into tossing it.
And there's another one now drawn by Travis.
Each.
But Travis draws it to Tenpai.
Exactly. That's not coming out, so those are locked in. Now they're waiting on the 7-pin and the 6-pin.
And I don't think the 6-pin's going to come out, so it's just a matter of who draws it first, or if they both get it. Oh, but a change back to the 5.
That's right. I think now just trying to go with a more defensive stance, maybe just trying to whittle this down to the end.
Yeah, that would be the case because the 8-pin passed right after the Ricci tile. Otherwise, I just stick with the 7-pin weight if both look dangerous.
There's the 7-pin drawn.
So that leaves one
Choosing
in the
not to
vault.
drop it.
So it's 1 versus 1.
East definitely being the safer decision there all around.
And Luke still unable to find 10.
We have another weight change, though, from the dealer.
3 6-pin.
Now it's open at the very last moments of this hand.
And the funny thing is it's still just a 6-pin weight because we see all the 3 pins.
Oh, that's true, yes.
So actually it's entirely dead. And a bit of a scary tile, but it comes out. I believe Luke had, and it's gonna be 1,500 for Travis and Matthew.
There you
So
go.
we'll
Still
two
East
Ricci
one.
sticks.
Two
Ricci
Ricci
sticks
sticks and 2 Honba.
Yeah, which is it's going to incentivize a lot of fast hands because they're not as cheap anymore. Your 1,000 point hand is going to be at least 3,600.
And with us being still this close to each other, I mean, you only have that that one major point loss from Luke at this point. This game's really yet to be cracked open. Taking home this pot's definitely going to decide who gets the early lead here for sure.
And it looks like Matthew has a good shot already. Ishanten waiting for the 8 mon or the 5 pin to reach Tempai.
And taking a look on the right, we see some pairs there for the Pinzu and picking up a growing nice shape there for the Manzu, along with an Anko of the 1 Mon as well. Across, we see a completed sequence of the Pinzu with the Manzu as well. And over on the left, we see a lot of interesting pairs. Well, I see, well, 3 at the moment, but they're close enough together, they could turn into something pretty interesting, especially with that pickup of the sequence in Pinzu.
Now, Josh had an interesting decision across the table. Paired up the 3 so and could have technically dropped the 1-2 so to guarantee Penfu. Now, you take a hit in efficiency because right now Josh's hand is what Headless Ishanten. It doesn't have a pair, so you can draw 6, 7, 8, 9 Mon and 6, 7, 8, 9 so into Tempai. The problem is, if you draw either the 6, 9 Mon or the 6, 9 so, you're left on an awful Tonki. So even though breaking 3 so keeping the 3 so pair and breaking the 1-2-3 so leaves you with less toss to Tempai, you're guaranteed a good weight. But with Ricci sticks in the middle and the home but to sweeten the deal, I don't blame him. Unfortunately, this is what I was talking about, the backfire. And now you're on an 8 so Tonki, whereas if you had those 2 so's, you'd reach on a 6-9 so weight. That being said, the 9 so is 3 times gone, so it's not as good as it looks.
Speaking of backfires, you saw the dealer here drop an East as double East, and then immediately draws the next one. So, still sitting on a pair of Wests, which are not Yakuhai in this case.
And we see a weight change from Josh across the table. It switches to Pinfu on the 2-5 pin, sees the 2-2 pin out, and feels hesitant about the Ricci, but I think this is a Ricci that I'd be happy to take. However, winning these points is rather important, so I don't blame him for doing the Dama as well. It's a pretty mediocre weight at this point. We can see that there's 6 of them, so there's only 2 left. And it's
We
Luke.
do have Ricci called by Luke. Waiting now
Yeah.
on the 8 and the 5 Mon.
Of which 4 remain in the wall, and gets Ipatsumo.
Ooh, draws one of them. Ricci Ipatsu Sumo. For 8,800 points, thanks to a very healthy looking pot. That'll move him to the lead from 4th, mind you, to 33,300 points in East 2.
Yeah, that was a long East 1. But in East 2, we enter with almost everyone even again. There's very, very little point gap at the moment, and there's so much more game to go. Now, the door is the 2-mon. The dealer's hand is pretty much in shambles right now. Will need major upgrades, but has opted to go for a Pinzu Honitsu and drops the 8-9. Over to the right, we have some decent shapes in Josh's hand. However, like the dealer's hand, it's pretty disconnected right now. That 3-mon does help, but awkward overlapping shapes in Manzu. Across the way, we have one of the faster hands of the bunch. Starts with the Chun pair, can easily call Yakuhai, drop the 1-3-mon, and go for a Chun Nomi, or can draw the 2-mon Dora and be Ishanten like that. And lastly, over to the left, we have a pair of the North Yakuhai. Awkward 1-2 pin pension, but other than that, very workable.
And we see Luke now as dealer really making strides toward that Honitsu, dropping the Sozu and the Manzu as a great presence of the honors there. We might see the North get called if one of those happens to get dropped, but otherwise they might just stay Mochi Mochi there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of cases where Matthew's going to want to drop that unless there's some kind of pin upgrade, but with the shapes as bad as they are. Probably going to try and pair up one of the balls in these 2 bad shapes, the 7-9 Mon and the 4-6 pin, and go for a better Ishanten than what he has now. All right.
We see an Anko of the 3-mon now in the hand to the left. Sorry, to the right.
Yeah,
That could
it's an
turn into something.
a very interesting hand. You want the 3-4-5 Sanshoku Ippeiku Tanyo Pinfu. Well, I said that in a very strange order, but then you have to drop the Dora. It's very confusing to think about at the moment. what to devote as the pair. You have a lot of excess shape, and now you draw this 3-pin. Now what? You go for Toy Toy, you go for Chi Toy. Looks like a hedge for both.
Possibly even a San Anko, or dare I say, Su Anko, if you
Could
really
even
get
get
lucky.
the Sanchoku Doko with the 3-pin and the 3, so that seems unlikely given what we can look at.
Right.
And now has moved back to a Chi Toy. Tanya Chi Toy, maybe Dora 2.
Dealer picking up an extra Haku there. Now sitting at an all Pinzu hand with the exception of those two pairs of the North and White.
I hate to draw attention away from the dealer hand right away, but unfortunate disaster. The 3-so was drawn right after by Josh, who would have had the 3-pin and the 3-so uncles and been Ishanten from Su Uncle. As is,
Boom!
decides to go back on his decision and keep the 3-so. I feel like at that point, unless I thought the 3-so was very dangerous, I'd just shove it back and take the optimal cheat way because I've already messed up with the 3-mon. I'm not going to get that.
That's true. Meanwhile, dealer is Tenpai, waiting on a Tonki weight of the 9-pin.
Oh. I think dealer is Ishanten still, but could end up on the 9-pin Tonki with the right changes. Oh,
Seems to be
needs.
abandoning Honitsu in favor of a sneakier weight.
Well, look, the hand isn't Tenpai, so
Yeet.
it still needs to pull the 1-pin, 2-pin, or North here.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Oh,
now
but
it's
Tenpai now.
Tenpai.
Yeah, yeah. And
With
there's
the
a
white.
reach across.
Reach across the table as well, yes.
And this is a very ambitious Rishi because there's only one Chun left for that 9-so Chun, so it's effectively a hell weight. Now, that is something that will very easily come out from the dealer, but with 9 draws left, it could be dead wall. The 1-pin North is dead, though.
The 1-pin North?
For the dealer.
Oh, gotcha. Well, unless that 1-pin happens to come out, but of course it won't. We have another dealer repeat coming to the draw here, with the dealer and the player cross taking the no 10 payments, as we put another counter on for East 2. Dora is 7 so at the moment. And the dealer picks up a sequence early on of 5, 6, 7 with a 1, 2, 3 sequence in the Sozu, pair of the Manzu as well. On the right, we have the Anko of the 8 so there with some very scary looking pairs. That could turn into something big very quick. Looking across, we see a sequence in the Pinzu as well as some other encouraging shapes. On the left, we had an early call of the Haku, looking for, Hatsu. I'm getting those mixed up all night tonight. And some good sequences to go along with it. That could also be a very quick contender here.
The dealer's hand in Ishanten, 1 4-pin, 2 5, so we'll all put this into Tenpai for Richi Pinfu. Josh would be delighted to get that. Josh is currently the point leader. There's a Richi stick to be had. And sorry, not Josh. Luke. Don't know how I confused that. Josh is on the right. Josh is still quite far away. Even accepting the 7-so Dora, while it can be done with the hand, is kind of awkward because you already have a pair, and then you get this weird Shampon with the 1-so and the 8-so, and the 8-so's already gone. It was discarded by Travis, whose own hand has just progressed a little bit, is Ishanten. Interestingly,
4-pin.
Decides to drop out of Ishanten despite having good shapes all around. Fishing for the Pinfu and turning one of those final 3 round men into a pair. I don't know. I probably would have just dropped the 3-4 mon or the 7-8 mon and kept the door acceptance in Ishanten. I can see the thought process. Is Ishanten now with that 2-mon draw? And then on the left, we have an Ishanten callable for Hatsu Dora 2. Quite a nice hand.
Nice, especially with another pair pickup there, but I don't think that's one you really want to at least not keep both pairs. That's what I was about to say.
Right. Yeah, one of those pairs probably has to go. You want to wait in as many suits as possible with that hand. I think I might have kept the 5-mon pair because I feel it's easier to get given that it's Nakasuji. In this case, we see that the other 6 mons are completely locked up in Luke's hand, which is still Ishanten unable to draw anything into Tenpai for the last 7 turns.
An Anko of the 4-pin picked up now.
Could take the headless Ishanten just guarding the 8-pin, and then if you
It does
draw the
that.
if you draw the 6-9 one or the 4-7 pin, you just discard a 4-pin or the 7-pin and you get your pin,
Each.
just like here.
Picks up the Dora and goes to reach. Waiting now
Wonderful
on
reach.
the 6 and the 9.
6-mon would be the Takame. That will give you Richi Tanyao Pinfu Dora 1. And no
Boom.
Sanshoku to be had, but it comes out. The 6-mon is the deal in time. Because we have a Tenpai reached on the left. So Richi Pinfu Tanyao Dora 1 from Bunga. That's gonna sting Matthew.
Incredible. Sting Matthew, but we have a lead change now with Travis stepping up with 36,800 points, moving into East 3. Dora
So
is
this-
8-pin. Go ahead.
So this will be Josh's first dealership here. Feels like it should be the second
Boom.
dealership. We just had a lot of repeats.
That's true.
Pretty standard hand. You can get a 5-6-7 Sanshoku, but a little bit slow overall. If you get the 5-6-7 Sanshoku, it's
Boom.
hard to use the door 8-pin. There's pawns all around. There's 3 Yakuhai on the table, South, the Hatsu, and the Yi. Trying to speed through this. Over to the right, it looks like a fairly fast hand. Not going to force Honitsu with that in most likelihoods because the 3-4-4-mon shape is quite good. Across the way, also no Honitsu. Could accept the door 8-pin, but as is Ishanten.
Chi.
The 8-pin would be the ideal draw, then you get a 6-9 pin wait. Over to the left, we have a second ball of the 1-2-3-mon, filling in that hard to get shape. Also Ishanten for Ton Nomi.
Here you're just cruising through those hand descriptions because this hand is moving very quickly. You're the dealer right now, and yeah, you did start with a pretty nice hand. What are you thinking now with
I'm
all
like,
these pairs
Gee,
being called?
Man, I'm going to chi that tile. I'm going to go into Ishanten myself, and I want my dealership. I'm not going to let their cheap hands take it away.
Absolutely.
So this is going to be Ishanten for Josh, 4-mon, 6-mon, 7-pin for a Tanya Dora 1. It'll be 2,900.
Meanwhile, we're already at Tenpai across the table looking for the
Sumo.
8-mon, and picks it up for a sumo.
And if you're
Yakuhai
Josh,
Hatsunomi.
yeah, if you're Josh, you're just sitting there like, really? That's what I have to put up with? I got the
Ooh.
Ishanten too. What about me?
A pretty rude welcome into the season, if I do say so myself. But we're moving on to East 4. We'll get another shot at dealer coming up. The Dora is 8-mon. And looking at this hand, looks like a little bit of a challenge, but there's some potential here. And over on the right, we see a pair in the north, a pair of the Sozu. Some other encouraging looking shapes, but otherwise a lot of work to be done there. Looking across, we see 2 pairs right next to each other, a third one right down the line. And on the left, we see some good shapes forming up, but we have an Ipeco that just needs 7 to finish itself off, but otherwise some work to be done. Good pickup of a sequence, though, just now.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that Josh's hand has 2 Doras, so this can be a Ipeco Dora 2. So with this
That's
5
right.
mantra, you have options to take Tenpai on the 2 5-pin and 7-pin. Dealer's hand here.
Yes.
Do you go for the Chinitsu here?
Boom.
I mean, the 4 and the 5 is nice, but it's not really pulling its weight in a hand like this. I would... then again, you're in the lead. You are dealer. But when you pick up that 8-pin, I just say go for it. Which is
And a
exactly what he
3-sided
does.
weight. 3-4-6
3-sided
weight
weight.
for Chinitsu. Dealer
Wow.
manga. Very, very early from Travis here. There's no overflow yet, so we might see it come out.
Yeah, I was just praising the merits of taking the conservative route here, but not when the wall gives you that, and not when the other players give you that.
Absolutely. With all the shapes present with the hand and the nice 8-pin draw, you absolutely go for Chinitsu then from the first. So I like that plan. Now, the 3-6-pin is used up in a few players' hands. It might come out from Josh if he forms better groups elsewhere, but he did keep the west tile, so I doubt he's going to try for expansion. Across the way, it's interesting too, because the hand is not Chitoi anymore. The Tuso pair was dropped. And actually, Oh, I was going to say we might see the north there, but one of those two pairs, the 3-pin or the 6-pin, might come out.
Picks
Oh,
up the
not
3
into,
pin. That's
and
not
is
Yeet.
coming out.
E-Shelton. And now Ricci on the 7-pin weight. Oh, sorry, 2-5
Boom.
pin.
2 and 5, yes. So we can see the 2's already
Nope.
picked, but immediately drops the 6 into a massive
no.
Roan. Chinitsu 5 Han instant Mongon for 12,000 points plus
And that's
1,000.
because Luke across the way decided to pawn the West into Tempai and shifted the draw. So instead of getting a nice sumo, Josh got an unwelcome surprise into the dealer mongrel.
Incredible. Travis taking a commanding lead here in East 4 with 1 repeat. He's not done yet. And looking at this hand, this is something you can convert with as well, I believe. Got a sequence of the Sozu with a pair in the Manzu. Only real trouble spot is the Pinzu, but that can be pretty easily worked out. But these other hands look pretty competitive too. On the right, we have a couple, 3 pairs rather. One of them just turned into a white triplet there. And across, we see a great presence in the Pinzu there with a good triplet in the 8-pin with some sequences forming around it. And on the left, we have a sequence and pair in Sozu with some other pairs in Manzu as well.
Yeah, dealer's hand here it has worked out to be a bit clunky. Could still go for a 789 Sanshoku, but it's much slower than his previous hand. There's no easy way to call this.
That
789
last hand was a miracle short of getting a 10-0, I believe. But
Absolutely. It was just call, draw, Tenpai. 3-sided weight.
it's the hand you dream about.
Interesting 9-pin discard there. I might have kept it around for the 789 Sanshoku upgrades. The hand is slow enough as is, so I'm okay giving up the efficiency of the 2-mon,
Yeet.
which I don't even know if it's more efficient. I'd have to look at it longer, but regardless, over to the right, we have a
Well, look
definite
across, we
total.
got Ricci called with looking for the 7 or the 4 Mon.
Yeah, and that's going to be Ricci Pinfu. No Ipatsu draw.
Oh,
But
that's right.
Luke happy there with the fast Tenpai good weight. Though we see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guns, so 3 in the wall.
Still plenty of wall to get through. 37 tiles to go.
So Travis decides to contest things here, manages Tamuashi, that's the term we used earlier, by discarding the 5-7, so could have technically discarded the 2-mon and the 1-mon to keep the Dora, but decided to play it half safe and work around that Ricci. Still reaches Tenpai in the 3-mon and the 4-pin draws though.
You do see the dealer, I think, fold into that a little bit, picking up the 4 Mon, detecting rightfully that it's dangerous and dropping the 9 instead.
Yeah, so it looks like that's going to be the end of Travis's dealership unless some really good draws are met or something becomes safe on the board that allows a push. But Travis probably doesn't mind that much because a
Oh.
53,500 point standing is quite good.
Hey, you've got to drop that dealership some way. Not even the end of the game can end your dealer draw, so you've got to find a way to just put it away gracefully. That's exactly what we're seeing here.
And we've seen in the past some people get carried away with it and they keep going and they're going and then they deal into something big and lose that leadership because they were just trying a little too hard to be greedy.
Absolutely.
Right, coming up towards the end of the hand now, it doesn't look like anyone else here is really going to be able to put up a great fight. I mean, there's Josh to the left, and he's been kind of pushy about things, pushing Suji, kind of half safe tunnels. Once they get into Tenpai and Chase with the Ipiko Pinfu, but it'd be hard to draw the tiles he needs. A lot of them have come out already, and the 3-mon is not a great weight to chase with.
Gotta
In
break
fact,
up
it's
that
completely dead.
Ipeco now.
Yeah,
Picks up the
besides
7 and just rightfully hangs on to it to stay above 0. Not that would have put him below 0.
Oh, last 3 draws here, 1 left.
I think everyone's
There's
just
1
trying
left in
to
the wall.
not deal in. There's 1 left in the wall, though. And Lucas will get to draw it.
But
And
the
doesn't.
last, yeah,
But
but
does end
3K
up with a cool
points.
3,000. That'll definitely
That's
help taking on this extensive lead from Travis.
could potentially have been worth more there than the pin on a run. Richie Pinfu is just 2K.
Absolutely. Well, we're moving into the south round now. The Dora is a white dragon. And we see a good sequence already formed up here in the Manzu shape, as well as a couple pairs. Looking on to the right, we have a couple pairs in the Sozu, as well as one in the Manzu, which could turn into a... Oh, there's a pair in the Pinzu as well. Looking across, we have a pair there as well, and some other rather encouraging shapes. And over to the left, we see a sequence in the Manzu with some pairs in the other suits as well. Encouraging shapes there. I'm not seeing anything that's totally blowing this out the water right now, but everyone's got a little bit of work ahead of them, it seems.
Yeah, Matthew's hand has that nice east. Of course, no one else is going to be hounding for the east this hand, as it is the south round now.
Mm-hmm.
But the other callable hand is to the right with Luke, who can go for a fast Tanyao. And that feels a lot better because he's not restricted by having to call the east first or risk Arozuke. It does come out immediately, so Matthew is in the Ishansen. It's kind of awkward. You need the 2-pin or the 6-pin, but the 2-pin doesn't look too terrible with the 2 1-pin discards to the left, so you might get it from them.
Mm-hmm. Dealer calling the easts right away. Having the Yaku locked in. But the rest of the hand leaves something to be desired. Those
Thankfully, that
closed weights.
yeah, thankfully that Mansu allows for expansion. If you get the 3, the 5, the 4, the 7 man, you get a Ryanman out of that. And you can replace one of the bad shapes and turn it into a Ryankan. So it's quite versatile despite how bad it is at the moment. But we have a fast Tenpai over to the right, waiting for 2-5, so that would be a Tanyao only from Luke.
I don't see that pair coming out of Michael's hand here. Sorry, Matthew's hand. With the 2-so pretty much locked up, and that 5-so is going to fit nicely into a sequence across the table on that pickup.
Yeah, so Josh happy to see that. Moves into Ishan's hand, waiting for the 3-5-6-pin 1-so and Hatsu.
Another call from the dealer here.
And that's what I was talking about earlier. That shape has expanded, so now instead of 2 Kanchans, you have a Rankan and a Ranman shape. Fortunately, the 2-pin are mostly gone over on the right.
That is true. The Dora was... Did I say green dragon? No, it was white dragon. I'm right. That's the one I have to think about still.
Oh,
Sometimes.
opts for
Oh,
the
that's a
Suji
good
trap.
pickup. There we go. Waiting
Could
on
have
the
all
2s, but...
Yeah. Now, if you had some kind of prior knowledge, you
What are
could
we going to
also
see
wait.
here, though?
Yeah, this is interesting.
You stay with the 2 or go for the 3 and 2? He goes for the 3 and the 2.
Saves it, and now there's a double run chance on the 2-so.
Another 5-so picked up. That's going to fit in the hand once again. I see that 3 is pretty loose in Travis's hand right now. But
Until
that
that
4,
4-pin,
that is
yeah.
the 4 will help that stay secure. But he's going to put that back. It's looking a little scary.
I think the reasoning for that being that Travis is greeting for the Yuan Peiko.
But
And
he's
that
going to put the
indeed,
3 down. Deal
yeah,
into East only. But 3,100 points. Not too shabby.
yeah, you pick up the Richi stick, the Homba, and now there's 3 Homba on the table. So next hand is 900 points more. So we see this round, the door is the 5-pin. Dealer can accept that easily. Has some decent shapes in Manzu and Sozu, and a pair of the Yakuhai South. Over to the right, you have lots of consecutive shapes in Manzu. Could be looking at a Manzu Itsu with the right draws, but overall is looking for a Tanpin Dora 1. Maybe even a 5-6 Sanchoku. Very versatile, good hand. Across the way, there's a lot to be desired. Could expand to a Pinzu Itsu, but needs some pretty great draws. That east pair helps to expand things a little bit. And then over to the left, we have an Uncle of the West. And could potentially force a Honitsu, but then giving up the Pinzu acceptance isn't great, and the 7-mon helps accelerate the hand a little bit. So I'd probably just go for efficiency here, especially since I have the lead already. And indeed goes
True.
well with the tune, yeah.
So hanging on to the 7-mon actually makes this hand more efficient?
Yes, it does, because at the moment you are missing groups. And here you see it help form one of the final groups of the hand. The lone honors are, of course, not going to be doing a whole lot hanging around. It's just a shame that the 5-mon was discarded on turn 1, because that would have helped make a 5-7-9, which is much more efficient than just the 7-9 on its own. But yeah, when you don't have groups around, you want to keep those middle tiles because you make groups very easily compared to honors. Who cares though? There's a Ricci on the right. It is a Tanpin Sanshokudora 1.
For the
Ricci,
6-0 or the 3-0.
yeah.
See 1-6-0 locked up in the dealer's hand. Another one in the hand over on the left. And across we see a 3-0 already in there, but still plenty in the wall to go around.
And if Luke rips that final 6-0, we'll also get Ipeiko. So we're looking at Ricci, Tanyo, Pinko, Dora 1 among us.
But picks up the 3. That'll be Ricci, Sumo, Pinfu, Tanyao, Dora. Not going for Ipeiko, but arguably doesn't need it with that 9,900 points going right into his total. That's a good shot at the lead now for Luke as we head into South 2 now. Good pickup there.
So things have stratified quite a lot now. We have a definite first and second place and a definite third and fourth place fighting against each other in pairs across the table. The door is the 6, so dealer's hand here is pretty efficient. We have an Ishanten already. Tenpai on the 7-pin, 9-pin, well actually 8-pin as well, and the Haku. But plenty of room to work around and improve if wanted. Like that 3-pin is an improvement. You're running a 2, 5, 8, 7, 9 Haku. Quite a lot. Over to the right, very box standard hand. Nothing much to say about that. Can accept the draw, but it's very slow. Across the way, this 2-mon draw does help. You have nice healthy shapes everywhere. You're aiming for a Pinfu here. You'd like more than Pinfu to help throw your lead even more, but you'll take what you can get. And lastly, over to the left, we have very Tanya looking shapes. You want to stay away from last place, keep things simple, move it along. You have almost no chance of getting into second place at the moment, especially with the dealer Tenpai and the 2-5-8 pin for Haku.
That was fast. You do have those 2 Dora. I think my goal with this hand and really just moving forward, especially picking up that Anko of the 8-mon there, get myself above 30k so I can at least stave up the point loss. But that's going to be tough to do when this happens. 2-pin Ron, which gives us a new leader with Luke as we head into a repeat of South 2.
And Luke is most certainly getting his comeuppance. Travis is getting his comeuppance from the last round where Luke was dumped down low. What am I saying? He's not getting a comeuppance at all. He's in a good second place. Well, he does pay in a little bit, like a pity tax or something, but that's a 3k swing. It's very...
Yeah, second place for now. Important to note, he does still have a dealer turn at the end of this, so if things do go south for him, he's got plenty of chances to catch back up.
Well, it
most certainly can here.
Doesn't look like anyone at the table is going to be going south now, because the only one left is in Matthew's hand to the left. Might actually use it for the Honitsu, because that's a pretty clear Pinzu Honitsu if I've ever seen one. And you don't want the 8-9 pinch on. Dealer's hand is pretty fast. The Hatsu pair easily pull that and go into 2 Shantan. Over on the right, we have a lot of connected Sozu shapes that overlap with the 8-9, so we might see that go, or the 8-pin as well. And then lastly, across the way, we have something that looks like a Chanta Dora 1, which is already Ishanten. Could call it. It wouldn't be that bad.
I just want to say, I saw what you did there with that going south remark I threw out.
Very good.
Yes. But yeah, this possible Honitsu or Itsu of some sort for Matthew seems to be growing along nicely. believe with those discards, that's exactly what he's trying. But then again, you've already gotten rid of the Sozu, so you just want to keep passing them along.
Definitely. Yeah, I tried to make a pun there to distract from my absolute nonsense that I was saying a few minutes before that with the feud between Travis and Luke. It seems to have worked a little bit. But Luke's hand also has outs to pin through here. If you draw the 8, so you have the choice to go for a closed hand.
Travis
here,
calling the Norths there. That's not a Yaku.
oh, but
But
it
as you
is.
said, that is true. Yes, it is the Chanta, as you were mentioning.
Yes.
Yeah. Very easy Chanta now, absolutely.
Chantadora what?
Waiting on the
Elusive.
7 so.
Chanta is pretty elusive in Akaari where you're playing with the red 5s because it pays well to play towards the center of the numbers and go for those 5s. But in Akanashi, it's great for value and profits
You
here with the
see that
Chantadora.
here.
Collects the Riichi stick from Josh and he yoinks it right off the table right after the Riichi's name. He doesn't have to worry about anything.
Just went in. That's got to be discouraging, though, for Josh. But he'll have his dealer turn now and a chance to perhaps strike back, though he's got a mountain to climb here in South 3. The Dora is 1 so. And with this hand, well, we do see a pretty nice couple of sequences in the Sozu, but otherwise, that's going to be a difficult task to convert on this hand. Seeing some sequences on the hand on the right with the Pinzu there and a pair in the 9 mons. Across, we're seeing some sequences as well, and some pairs there as well, and some encouraging shapes, but again, work to be done. And on the left, that's looking pretty nice. We have a sequence in the Sozu along with a pair. Good presence there. If you're looking to just get a little leg up on your opponent, that might be the hand to do it. A little concerned about the Manzu, though.
So what I'm hoping to see here is Josh to draw the 5 or the 8 mon and then draw another one and be Tenpai. Because all the hand is Ishanten here, it's not great shapes. You don't want to end on the 6-7 mon Shampon. It's a bad weight. But if you get the 5 mon and then you have to get another 5 mon or an 8 mon or vice versa, you end up on a 1-4-7-3-6 so weight, which is quite nice. 5-sided weight with Pinfu and Tanya guaranteed on the line. But here you are Tenpai, so you're just going to take that. Decide Sadama on the 7 Soul Kanchan can draw the 6 mon to get San Anko and improve to that 5-sided weight I was talking about. Oh, the 7 so.
Picks up the 7 so, though, and that'll do it. Tanya Nomi, but you'll take anything to just extend your time.
Yeah. That is a don't ignore me hand. You win that, keep going with your dealership. And what a hand
don't
to start
ignore
with.
this either. Shoot. Got an Anko of the 6 so, and the Dora is 9 pin, but you can probably incorporate that into this hand. Some good. Go ahead.
I mean, you can even just ignore the Dora here unless you pair it up, because Tanya is 1, Dora is 1, and Tanya can be opened. This is a hand that is relatively fast, but has some hard-to-fill shapes. He's still looking for a pair here. The 7 mon is the critical time for this hand. But that 4 soul pair, that 4 soul draw helps in making a pair. You can draw 4 soul or 5 soul, get your pair immediately. Across the way, we have a South Call. Looks like Matthew is just trying to close things out, take that third place and run away with the minor penalty. The other 2 players are much closer, of course, within 1,000 of each other. Actually, 1,100, but that means nothing with Homba on the table. Travis's hand is I don't know, it's not great. All the shapes that aren't near the pair are very bad, other than the 6-7 pin. Could get the 7-8-9 Sanshoku, but then you're committing to a lot of trouble. And there's a Tenpai already.
Yes, there's a dealer with that call. The 2 mon makes it 8 pin, 5 pin for the win. There's the 5 pin, and it comes out immediately for another Tanyao Nomi. But now that 1,500 becomes 1,800 because we're throwing Honba in the pot, right and left.
And that immediately catches Josh up to Matthew. Only 5,600 behind, I want to say, and that 600 is going to come in the form of 2 Homba. And another great hand. Look at this.
Wow. Incredible to see those pairs and those Onkos just lining right up for you. You even got a sequence in there, so this is a quick one as well. Don't adjust your set.
Right. Now, the
Or don't
south is
touch
the
that
door.
dial, I should say.
Depends on how greedy Josh is, but we might either see the door dropped early, like on this next turn or two, if there's aggression around the 8 mon, or kept ad nauseum until it either pairs up or the hand gets into Tempai because you want to go for that extra 2 or 3 Han value. Or sorry, up to 4 Han if you form a triplet. But it seems like it's probably going to end up coming out.
Picking up the 2 mon, I think that's an easy decision there, just to keep going on this hot streak. But we already have Tenpai, speaking of hot streaks, over on the left. Or Luke's hand, waiting on that 2 of Sozu.
Tricky wait though with 2 of them gone, so while this does have a chance to upset the dealer's streak, it might give Josh enough time to get into Tempai with this 1-4 mon or 6-7 pin.
The 2 twos that we see right now seem to be pretty well locked up in these hands, and with not seeing any Sozu discarded in this hand, I would almost detect that would be exactly what he's going for.
Yeah, it's quite expensive in that direction. The lower Sozus.
But this can change things. Discarding the 1 So to get the 5-pin 3 So instead.
To be entirely honest, I almost like the 2 So weight a little more than 2 middle tile weights for a Champon, but they're both equal in efficiency. And there's some cases where you can draw back the 4 So and change to a 2-5 So weight. You can draw the 4-pin change to 3-6 pin weight, so it's flexible.
Still 30 tiles left in the wall. Meanwhile, dealer picking up another pair, but that doesn't... Well, he's going to hang on to that pair.
It's helpful in this case because not only can you get San Anko now, but you can also draw out the 5-8 pin for the chance to Ipeko in a double-sided weight. Whereas the 1-4 mon is a double-sided weight, but is Fruiten on the very first discard.
Absolutely.
Over on the right, though, Honitsu City and Pinzu, whether it'll keep up with these other hands is another thing. We have Tempai here on 5-8 pin, so there's a chance for a double run.
Ricci called across the table, waiting on the 2 and the 5 mon.
And now a big pause from Luke. Wants to avoid that reach at all costs. The last thing you want to do here is deal in while you're so close to first place. So tosses the 9-man Genbutsu and bails the hand.
Wise move
Even
there.
Josh is avoiding it a bit. I'm not sure that the torso is exactly safe though if you're gonna like kind of half fold there. I might have gone with the 3 So or just kept the Tempai, honestly. Because at least the 3 So is one chance.
Take a look at this hand on Travis's end.
Would you have this Tempai
6 So looks a little scary, I'd have to say that's what he's thinking. I don't see any other 6 So out there, and again, you have like no Sozu discarded at all on Travis's side.
A bit of a shame because if that 6 So wasn't kept, that would have been a sumo on that 6 pin, I think. Would be a 3-6-5 pin. But playing it safe, understandably. Josh, though, I think Josh needs to fight this hand, and that's going to cost him. He can con there. He can go for that extra draw, but saves it for later.
You don't have much later to go here, though.
No. The nice thing is, now that this 5 pin's going to pass, it might come out. And now, yeah, you're going to shove... Actually, I would have just shoved the 2 So because it's safe.
But picks up the 5 mon sumo for Ricci, Sumo, Pinfu, Ipeko, Tanyao. No Uradora, but 9,600 points. That's going to help you get a little bit ahead here.
Yeah, Matthew is even looking at being able to be above 30k at the end of this hand.
Absolutely. We're moving into all last. Look at these scores for first and second. It is a close game, so definitely stick around for the conclusion of this one. 8 mon is the Dora. this hand I'm seeing some pairs and not much else, unfortunately, for the dealer, but there's still plenty of time here. Looking at the other end, though, that's looking a bit more menacing. Got a sequence in the Sozu, pairs in that suit as well as an East pair as well. And looking across, we see now a pawn called of the Tuso, and the rest of that hand, though, does need a little bit of work. The tunes look promising, and over on the left, we see a sequence in the Manzu and the Pinzu, and now the Sozu. So that is coming together pretty nicely for Josh, but you just need more value at this point in the game.
Yeah, and as such, does not take the Ricci winning from the 5. We see Luke is plenty happy to take these preemptive calls and commit to the Chun because he has the necessary value of Chundora 1 to overtake first and end things immediately. And with the calls taken so far, it's not necessarily readable as an Adozuke either, because could be Sancho Kudoko, could be Tanya, could be Toy Toy. There's a lot of options, so he's keeping himself well masked. And both tunes are in the wall, so it seems pretty likely that he'll get. Oh, there it goes.
I've been noticing that in this season, the commentator's curse is kind of working ahead a little bit, is what I've been saying.
Right. Maybe it starts strong in the beginning of the season and dies down over time. We'll see. Oh,
That is
Tenpai.
true.
Now,
Tenpai here across the table.
5 pin or 5, so this is really tricky.
But puts down the 5 pin.
And of course, yeah, Josh doesn't take their own there because there's no Yaku, and it's not the value he wants anyway. Could switch to 6-9.
There's no value. Now drops the 5 so instead. That'll put him out of... Well, that just switches the weight effectively.
Yeah, it's a wider weight. There's 2 left in the wall, unfortunately.
Waiting on the 6 and the 9 mon now.
I imagine the 9 mon will come out if anyone draws it.
It's that situation where everyone's Tenpai and we're just kind of at a standoff here. No one wanting to deal in.
Now, this is a case where I might even con the tune if it comes out. Go for the extra draw, because it's a game-ending situation, and the scores are so close that I don't think it'll make a huge difference if the dealer gets a chance at some extra Dora. The other players I'm not really too worried about.
You just need an inch here. That's all you need.
We see a weight change from Josh. Goes to the 2-5 pin for Ricci. Sorry, pin Fudora 1. I don't know. I think with the hand being as hard as it is to win, I might just Ricci the hand and go for some go for a direct hit on Matthew, or just some condolence points and try and control things. The 9 mon is probably going to come out.
Ooh, and that'll decide this game.
Yeah, that's going to give Luke the 2600 direct hit to put Luke in first place. Travis is going to take second. Then we're going to have third with Matthew, and Josh is unfortunately going to take fourth here. So that's plus 31.2 for Luke. Travis with a modest 17.1, minus 10.0 for Matthew, and a minus 38.3 for Josh.
Still well played between our first and second contenders, definitely. That was a duel all the way to the bitter end, for sure. We're going to see those rankings update very shortly. But wow, what a game. And that all really kind of started in the beginning there with a defensive struggle. Like, you thought that was going to really set the stage here. But it ended up, we got our first and second doing some big plays, and then they're kind of having the defensive struggle at the top at the end of it.
Yeah, it was an absolute shootout towards the end. I was flying everywhere. And after a very slow start, it seems very fitting.
Absolutely.
All right. That being said, going into the third game, we're going to take a short break here. I'm going to swap out, so I'll say my good night to you folks already, and enjoy the rest of the games.
Sure. Thanks for calling it with me there, Eric.
Yeah, and thanks
see
for
you
being
around
there.
soon.
See you around. Bye-bye.
And I'll be back with game 3 and 4 of this B1 Table 1 matchup right after this short break. And welcome back, everybody, to Monday Night Mahjong here in the ARML. I am Blaine Singletary, of course, and joining me for the next two games in this Division B1 showdown is Michael. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. A little sick, been better, but we're here for some mahjong, so we'll,
That's
we'll
right.
stick it
Well,
out.
given the circumstances with everything that's been happening with COVID and everything, we're really glad you're with us, man. So, gonna call some
Yep,
good games tonight, and this
thanks.
one should be starting up in just a few seconds. Um, quite a Definitely a strong match from these five. This is a group of five. We have Travis coming in on this. Uh, sorry, did I have that right? Yeah, Travis is stepping out on this rather, and Dakota is coming in for this next round. Again, this is a five sum, so one player sits out from each round as we go to all five games with this group. We see the standings are updated. Travis moved up into fourth with that win, or rather, with that second place, stays in fourth. Matthew moving up to fifth, and Luke in 16th with Dakota and Josh at 18th and 19th. There's the gong, so here we go, getting started. It is East 1, and the Dora is one pin. We see a pretty nice looking, I'd say about average hand for the dealer here. Picking up a pair of the 1 mon there with some pairs in the 6 mon, as well as some other good encouraging shapes. Looking over on Many Cats, also known as Luke, he has a couple pairs, some shapes forming up for maybe a pinfu or something like that. We'll see what happens. Looking across, some good pairs there, some good strong pairs, and some sequences as well, so you can either lean into them or go for something else. But taking a look on the left, for Michael, we've got an Anko of the Green Dragons with the Manzu, a great presence there. That could turn into a Honitsu very quickly.
Yeah, that's a ready-made Honitsu hand for sure. Um, I do think that Luke's hand is probably the fastest on the table right now. Interesting that we only see one Dora and Dakota just tossed it right back. So
Well, sometimes the Dora fits, and sometimes it just does not fit whatsoever. Pretty decent pickup from Luke just now, adding to that shape with the Pinzu. Dealer deciding what to do with that edge weight, drops the 9, will go for the 7 to fill that one in. Meanwhile, that Honitsu growing nicely on Matthew's end with that now count 'em 2, or rather, well, 2.5, we'll say. Well, that's actually just one completed one, never mind. But that is has a couple tiles that can easily slot in there and move this into 10 pi range. She crawled across the table. A little curious what they plan to do with that. With the 7, 8,
that
9.
looks like a commitment to the 789 Sanchoku.
Okay. That's the one I always kind of miss at a glance. We do have 10 pi now on Matthew's side, waiting on the 8 mon to finish that off for a Honitsu
Only
Green
Yeah,
Dragon.
only one of those left in the wall.
Right. And the one we see in the hand is pretty well locked, I would say, in the dealer's hand. Meanwhile, we also have 10 pi on the on the right, with the 8 pin, 5 pin weight there. Now Matthew changing things up,
Yeah.
going for the looks like 5 mon, 8 mon? Yes, 5 mon, 8 mon.
That's a nice
Making
upgrade for Matthew. Oh,
Oh,
this I don't think this gets yeah, that's too
no.
dangerous. That does not get cut.
There's plenty of tiles they can easily sacrifice if you want to keep pushing this hand, which I don't think you do at this stage. There's too much you still have to get straightened.
Not Dakota's hand is not close enough to put not enough value, I don't think.
Mhm. Kind of want to coast this to the end, but you don't have to because this is over
Well,
now.
only one. Apparently, one left in the wall is enough. So
You see that happen in the ARML more often than not, I've noticed. Sometimes the wall is absolutely your friend, especially now. Look at this hand with the dealer, with Luke. Anko of the Souths. Granted, not your seat, but you also have the the green dragons there as well, and a sequence with a 3-4-5. I think Honitsu time is now on Luke's side. As you see, he's angling towards that right away, and a good idea
yeah,
to do
that's a pretty clear decision, I think, when the game hands you a hand like that.
that. Could maybe see something similar from Josh calling the whites right away. Now, you have a good presence of the Sozu, but I don't know if that's enough to really carry this hand across the finish line.
It looks like Josh is aiming to just call and hopefully maybe snag that Dora and that, for that 1-3 shape that he is keeping around right now.
That's right, the Dora is 2 pin, of course. We're seeing that in the hand on the left on Dakota's side. That could be incorporated. It's kind of sitting orphaned at the moment with another sequence in the Pinzu, but a 3 would easily turn that into 2 sequences, so I think that sticks around a little while. And meanwhile, at the top, we have a sequence in the Sozu. Actually, we are Tenpai at the top, before I noticed everything that's there. Waiting now on the 2 and the 5 pin. And the 5 pin comes out!
Ah, what an aptly timed Ricci to catch that last Pinzu discard.
And that's why we award extra points for that, with Ipatsu. And there you go. He's going to take a pretty commanding lead here now. 39,100 points. Moving on to East 3 now. The Dora is 6 pin. We have an interesting hand here for the dealer. 2 sequences locked in, but the rest of the hand is kind of broken up into many pieces. Looking on the right, we have a sequence in the Pinzu there with a couple pairs now. Across we see a couple pairs as well. Good presence of the Pinzu there, but lots to be desired. Well, maybe not too much. Looking on the left, we see some pairs as well and some good shapes that sequences could form into later on down the road. And you see one happening right in front of your face. 5, 6, 7 called.
Matthew's hand, well,
Dealer Ricci already.
if there weren't already a Ricci on the board, you might be able to massage that into Junchan, but now I think you take a different route.
You take whatever you can get at this point. That may be nothing at all. Especially when you're in the lead, you don't want to give that up to this upstart here, waiting on the 9 and the 5, I believe. Yes, Dolly Parton wait here. The 9 gets drawn. I think that stays in this hand, though. It doesn't, though. It's going to deal in.
Nope, it does not.
For Ricci Yakuhai, and a dealer repeat for Josh. Josh having a pretty rough go of it in the last game. He's going to have some chance to redeem himself now. My first impression was seeing all those honors and terminals thinking maybe Kokoshi, but I think you made the right choice in not doing that. This is going to turn to something much better without it. Sequence already locked in as well. You've got a pair in the 9-so now, and some other shapes that are forming up as we speak. Looking on the right, we have an Anko of West, not the seat, but we'll see how that goes. A couple pairs in there as well. Looking up across, we see a great presence of the Manzu and a couple of pairs as well. On the left, we see some good sequences forming up, and picking up that north is going to bring him right into Tenpai. We're looking on the 6 Mon and Red Dragon.
Already Shabo on the Dora.
Shabo, yes. Oh, sorry, the Dora is the red dragon. I forgot to mention that.
Is Chun, yeah.
Hmm. So that's for the Norths, red dragon, and well, red dragon potentially, and if you do get that, an extra Dora comes along with it. So that can
You
turn
have
the
to
tables here. Go ahead.
you have to expect that if the Chun shows up in anyone else's hands, they're probably already a little suspicious.
Right, so we're heading into the second row of discards here. Do you take the 6 mon if it comes out, though? Or do you hedge your bets,
リーチ
wait on that Chun? I don't think you do now that we have another Ricci.
No, yeah, I don't think that would be the play. Um,
3 and the 8, of course, is the
Rum.
weight there, and the 3 is going to immediately come out and put an end to this. Ricci Nomi, but 2,600 points to add to an already pretty nice lead. Moving into East 4 now, moving a whole lot quicker in this game compared to last.
yeah, these are fast hands.
Yes, indeed. And this hand's definitely got some oomph to it. We got 4 pairs already. One of them is the Dora. This hand could turn into Cheetoy, I think, very easily, and I believe that's what...
You could cheat toy. I'm not a fan of when I'm given cheat toy hands on my deal though, because it's just not the fastest. But
This is true. You might think of a more conventional way to lengthen your time as dealer and, just secure your lead a little bit more conservatively. But you pick up another pair like that, and now you're Ishanten for Cheetoy.
I
Would
mean,
you still go for it in this situation?
I think it's kind of forced at this by the time you get 5 pairs, it's that are spread out like this.
リー
And
チ
now Tenpai.
Well,
There you go.
so much for being slow. This never I never get this kind of draw luck.
Oh, especially being in the lead where you don't really need this kind of luck. But anyway, waiting on the 1 pin, see a pair of them across the table in Luke's hand. 1 more left in the wall. Still plenty of wall to get through. I don't see that. I don't see
Yeah.
anybody really hanging on to that 1 pin if they draw it, except for
Except for Luke, yeah. I think
if he
that's right.
gets it, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's I think that'll be how it goes.
Let's look at these other hands here before this hurdles to a stop. Seeing some other pairs in the hand
Pwn.
on the right. That's turning into a pawn now. So it'll be a quick way to just step on the gas and get something out of this, perhaps.
Well, now that 1 pin is trapped,
Where at?
we saw Luke earlier
Eat.
decide to cut the 2 pin pair instead because of the 5 pin in the
Oh.
discards, but now
See what you mean. Interesting. Well, now we have another reach from Josh. Waiting on the
Don't.
9 and the 6, and picks up the 9. Or, sorry, the 6. For Ricci Ipatsu, 4,600 points. Putting them in great contention for the lead as we head into the half here. What a crazy, just knockdown, drag out first half that was for sure. We're now in South 1. Dora is 2 so. Immediately a call from the dealer for the 6, 7, 8. Some other shapes that look like they can turn into something there, but that's going to be a kind of an uphill battle, I'd say, for the rest of that hand. Looking on the right, we see a pair of the greens as well as a good 5-pin sequence. Calling the set on those greens now. And now the whites get called across the table. We're seeing a pretty good presence of the Pinzu at this moment. For on the left,
I'm wondering. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to talk about the next hand, but what are you wondering?
I'm wondering if Dakota is about to regret this commit to this 678 Sanshoku.
That is true. I didn't. Again, I missed that Sanshoku.
Gee.
But...
Well, that's one step closer, but
Mhm.
with two Yakuhai now on the table, there could be, well,
Kang.
those hands
Hmm.
could be quite fast.
Yeah, but your hand is picking up speed, and that'll help you convert for sure. If any, and I mean, when you have a Sanshoku like this, you can also, if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, you can detour into Tanyao land and take that instead, and still keep your dealership, of course. But we are Tenpai across the table on the 7-so. One of them's discarded, one of them is called. The other two are in the wall. Matthew's hand looking not too bad either. It's come along pretty nicely. We got a sequence in the the Manzu with a pair there as well, a pair of the Pinzu as well, and a pair of the Sozu. That's coming together nicely.
Gee.
It's a contender in this race for sure, even as Luke calls another sequence of 1, 2, 3. They are now Tenpai on 3 and 6. Yes, 3 and 6 pin. Pair of sixes locked up in Dakota's hand, where, yeah, this could maybe change things. Well, now you're just looking for the 4 pin.
That was an interesting
Hmm.
call there.
I mean, it's very sneaky because there's already 1 4 pin out there, but
Boom.
you're effectively just waiting on that last one.
Oh, was
Oh, the 2-5 was for a 10. That's right, because there's 2 of
yeah,
the 2s
okay, I
already
was
in
just
there.
リーチ。
Okay.
yes. Okay, that makes sense. I missed the Footy 10.
Yeah.
ロン。
And
That doesn't matter. Gonna put out that 7-so for another Yakuhai Haku for Josh, as he moves within 200 points of the lead now as we head into South 2. The door now is 8-so. We're looking at a pretty good hand that can accept that 8-so here in front of us on the dealer's side. Got some good shapes in Sozu, rather. The rest of the hand might need a little bit of help. Good. The Souths, though, are encouraging. Looking on the right, see an Anko of the 9s, a pair of the 5s, all in Manzu. Also a pair of the 9s in Sozu. So that can definitely turn into something explosive pretty quick here. Looking across, we see a sequence in the Pinzu. Some other closed weights there. One of them opens up with that 6-pin pickup, though. Got a white pair there as well. And on the left, we see a lot of pairs. 3 right now. Some other shapes, though, so I think we see that turn to something else entirely, and not going for the 7. Dealer's hand, meanwhile, seems to be having a little bit of trouble finding what they need right now. That'll help.
Dakota's hand looking pretty scary, but right now has a surfeit of pairs there.
Boom.
Needs to figure out what to do about having 3 pairs in his hand.
And meanwhile, we are Tenpai on Matthew's hand after calling the White Dragons, now waiting on 5-so, 7 man. See 2 of those weights in the hands right now, pretty well locked up, but the other 2 are in the wall. Still 44 tiles to go. There's some more good progress for the dealer. And Matthew discarding the 6 already in hand to kind of throw people off his scent. Now many cats
Decides to cut the more efficient shape to keep Dora acceptance for the dealer here.
Interesting. Could even gear this into Honitsu. Would be worth a lot of points indeed.
And there was the last Dora, so now if Luke
So he's
ends up
gonna-
trying to wait on that 8, so it's totally dead.
Looks like he knows that. He's going to go ahead and call the 1, 2, 3, and then probably cut the 9 so at some point just to get this further along. But you have those Manzu to deal with, since now he seems to be committing to this Honitsu. Now is able to discard the 8, but the 7 will deal in across the table. Another Yakuhai Haku. That seems to be the Yaku of the game so far, as we move into South 3. You know, we kind of saw this happen in the last game with the first and second just kind of trading jabs at each other, seeing who can get that final inch. I think this is going to come down to the wire for Josh and Matthew this time, sitting at first with only about, really less than a quarter of 10,000, less than 25,000, if you will, between each other. What do you think of this opening hand with the dealer, though? You already got a sequence in the 7, 8, 9s, sequence in the 2, 3, 4s. I'd say that's competitive, but we already have 2. Sorry.
Yeah. Potential 3, 4, 5 Sanshoku here as well. Though maybe you want to use that 7 Dora.
You already have 2 calls across the table, though. Kind of like going for Toy now, but if so, you kind of have some work to do with the rest of your hand, the Souths notwithstanding. Kind of looking for some value here. Granted, that's only 2 Han. Oh, calls a 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I see it. This is Chanta. Now Tenpai on the 3 pin. Coming together very quickly. There's the South. Now Tonki only on that 1 pin.
That's some aggressive calling.
Very much so. Sad thing is, I don't really see that he gets that much reward for this. Other than... I mean, you got the South.
That's a 2 Han hand, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, I guess that will, in most situations, get you to second. I think that's probably what he's gunning for at this point. Sorry, get you to third. And then you have a whole nother hand to do with it what you will.
I mean, that one... Normally, that 1 pin would look, pretty safe, but given that there's a clear Chanta attempt, maybe not so much.
I almost wonder if you swap... Well, you couldn't swap to the 9, because then you wouldn't have anything left.
Not.
Interesting case there, for sure.
Lucas,
Lucas,
you just
on the
hope
other
to
hand,
draw it.
Yeah. Look at this hand with Luke. I keep calling him Lucas for some reason, because we have another one in the league. But we have an Anko of the 8s, 1, 2, 3 pin, 3, 4. You could easily make the 2 and the 5 be your weight.
Reach.
You have another 5, 6, 7, and a 4, 5.
Besides Torichi on the 5, so Kanchan.
Kanchan, wait. I'm pretty sure, we've seen one of those already get discarded. 2 of them locked up in the hand over on the left. And another on the bottom. Picks up the last one, though, for the Roan. There you go.
Was not quite was not quite enough to get Dakota into third there. Um,
But
but
you definitely have a chance to do that here in all last, which I can't believe we're already at. It is South 4, and looking at this hand from the dealer, you've got some pairs. They're all kind of spaced out. There's only 3 of them, though. I don't know. This well, there's 4. So maybe you make something out of that. But check out the hand on Dakota now. If you want to get to third and then some, this is the hand you do it with. Check that out. You have an undeclared con
that's
because
so nice.
you want to use 2 of those 7s for
Gee.
Peko.
That is already Ishan.
Oh, you're going to give up a
And
Peko
there
with
you
that
go.
call, but now Tenpai on the Reds. That's why you call that right away. Honitsu Chun.
What a wait! What a wait!
What a wait then. You won't have to wait too long.
Deciding
Whoa.
to change it.
Okay, now going for Chinitsu, I
Richi.
see. Meanwhile, Dealer Ricci looking for the East Tonki for Chitoi. That did come together quite nicely for him.
Needs to stick another tile to either this 2 or this 6 here.
Boom.
Another pwn call, another step closer.
Oh, well,
now
not
Tenpai
now.
on 6 and the 9. Sorry.
Chi.
It's one of those scary weights I've learned to fear. That's an open Peko, essentially, right?
That's just, yeah. That would be Peko on the 6.
Right. Well, open Peko, obviously. But,
Oh, open EP. Yeah, not actually.
mhm. I think a 9 also wins that hand. Am I mistaken? It's one of those weird overlapping ones, but it doesn't matter because the hand across gets it. A pin food to end us off. Many Cats. That's Luke securing third place. Sadly,
Oh,
despite a good try from Dakota, they're going to end in last, losing 22 points. Many Cats staves off at fourth place with losing just 9.5 points. Matthew gaining 9.1 points. And our winner this time, coming back from a disastrous last game, Josh picking up 22.5. Our players are really all over the place. You can already see just from the last 2 games some significant spread in their results, and you're going to see even more once the results load in here. So, what a show thus far. Now Matthew sits alone, well ahead of the pack, in 4th, with Josh, Luke, and Dakota in 17th through 19th, respectively. But we should note Travis is part of this group too, and with those 2 seconds, is just behind Matthew in 5th place. You can see the full detailed rankings there on your screen now. What are your thoughts on this game 3?
I think that, I mean, I watched a little bit of the games that came up before this one, and I think so far it looks like Matthew has been showing consistently strong play. And I think that he's been giving the other players here a little bit of a rough time. But we'll have to see with Travis back in the game how that goes.
Travis will be stepping in and Matthew will be stepping out for this game 4. We'll have Travis as the first dealer, I'm being told, with Josh next, then Dakota, then Luke. That game will be coming on your screen here in just a few minutes at 22 past the hour, which is just a minute from now. So, definitely this group's been putting on a show tonight. I'm definitely glad we got to devote our whole broadcast to them, for sure. And of course, their next game, their game 5, will be tomorrow night, I believe. And whether or not we get to put that on the broadcast, with all the other games scheduled as well, it's kind of iffy sometimes. You can find our Tenno Watch lobby on our website, AmericanRicci.org. It's a place you can also sign up for the Fall League, which starts in September. And if you sign up now, you'll have a chance to be a substitute for one of our games in case any of our players has to drop out for whatever reason. So it's the end of the night for these 4. What are we going to look for as we as these four close things out. And there's the gong, so we're getting right into this now. It is game 4 from this group in Division B1. The Dora is 9 so, and we see 2 of those sitting pretty in Travis's hand, along with a pair of the Pinzu and some other encouraging shapes, just picking up a pair of the Manzu there. Looking on the right, in Josh's hand, we see a couple, 4 pairs there. That's also looking rather competitive. Dakota's hand, well, you've got the Chun pair, but that's otherwise kind of a difficult hand to work with, so immediately going to call a 7-8-9. Interesting to see what you'll do with that, but I guess looking for the Chun, which you see in Travis's hand right now. One of a smattering of honors at this point. Got to figure out what to do with them, but otherwise you've got a pretty solid block of the Pinzu at the moment.
Dakota's Atsuzuke call, I think that the hand's not very fast to be calling. Well, I say right as he is able to make another call, so maybe it is faster than I think.
It's still Atsuzuke at this point, though. It seems to all hinge, I mean, definitely at this point, all hinge on finding that last red dragon. So there's still one
What
on
a
the
draw,
wall.
though.
Yeah. It could very well come out of Travis's hand at any moment. Unless they draw the next one and they just stand mochi mochi for the rest of the game.
Oh,
But-
you mean Luke's hand?
That's right, Luke's hand. Many cats.
Yes.
Many
I
cats.
don't-
Meanwhile, the dealer is
I'm
Ishanten.
kind of wondering why Luke is holding on to those honors at this point.
Yeah,
But
I see they're favoring the other tiles. Unless they're waiting to see like which one gets a pair and going from there. But it's decision time now as dealer calls Ricci, looking for the Formon for Chitoy Dora 2.
I mean, we do know that Chitoy is the shortcut to Hanemon, but I think if I were in this position, I may have waited, see if I could find a better weight than the Formon. But
Especially putting down the 5 mon to reach width. That's going to already sound some alarm bells on that 4. Meanwhile,
yeah,
we also have...
that's what I'm thinking too.
We also have Tenpai on Josh's end. He's waiting on the... Sorry, not on Josh's end. It's the hand across, waiting for the Chun. Sorry.
The Hatsutanki wins it.
Yes. While we weren't looking, Dakota picked up the last Chun himself and was able to win with that. So there you go, taking some risks early on and gets rewarded for it. Moving on now immediately to East 4. The Dora is 7 pin. We see one of those in this opening dealer hand. Also a pair of the Sozu, and that's also part of a sequence in the Sozu. Some encouraging shapes there. We saw Dakota automatically call a South. That is a Yaku this time, and that's one of many different honors in this hand. Could definitely call even more of them. Go for a Honitsu. Very easy in that case. Looking across...
We are seeing... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, please. What are you seeing?
We're seeing lots of early aggressive calls from Dakota, and we can see in the stats a almost 50% call rate. So this is, I suppose this is expected play, but it's still an interesting kind of difference from the rest of the table here.
Yeah, and from the rest of the games tonight, I think Dakota was trying a more subdued approach in the in the other 2 games that played in tonight, but is definitely taking the bull by the horns this time, and can definitely convert on this as well. You just kind of have to figure out what you do with all those different honors now. Meanwhile, across the table, we see some sequences in the Sozu. Yeah, it's a difficult hand to call what you do with it. Probably Lucas figuring that out as well. A good presence of Manzu over on the left, though, where you see a pair and some good sequence shapes, some good open weight there, and an edge. That could turn into Itsu in the best case scenario. But you have a lot of other sequences building up in the other parts of the hand that are definitely worth leaning on if needed. And dealer picks up another sequence. That's 2 sequences in a pair now. 3 if you decide to count that a little differently.
Dealer looks to be hedging a little bit for that 567 Sanchoku.
Oh, absolutely. Now you've got the 567s already locked in on 2 suits. You just need to call the last one at this point. Or if you're really lucky, you pick it up yourself.
Would need to find a different head for the hand, though.
That is true. You need to find a head at all.
Each.
So if you don't use
Or,
that
yeah,
for
one
the-
at all.
Yeah. We have Ricci called from Travis now. Waiting on just the 3 pin. We see one of them discarded, another one locked up in the hand on the dealer's side. Last one in the wall, 20 tiles left. Not... I mean, yeah, this is a hell weight, effectively. And you already see one of them out. So... not going for a Chanta or anything, so I'm just trying to think, like... I guess you just see a good a workable Tenpai and just click the flashing button sometimes, but... I don't know, would you have gone for that?
Well, I think the thought process is probably that Penshan Dora 1 is a Ricci, or at least is a Ricci as long as you can tell that it's not completely dead. Or if you only see one cut, and I think I might.
That
I think
was
I might go
also
for it.
Sumo.
pretty late in the hand as well. And
And
hey, picks it up!
There
There
it
you
is,
go.
Sumo.
They don't need us to play armchair Ricci caller. There's 5,000 points right there for Travis. That'll move us into East 3. The Dora is 1 mon. We see one in Josh's hand over there right now, but as far as the dealer hand, it's a decent start. You have a good sequence in the 7, 8, 9, possibly even a pair in the 9s as well. You have some closed shapes, but you could leverage that into something, I'd imagine. Looking at Luke's hand now, we see an Anko of the 3 pin and a good sequence in Manzu, some other good shapes there as well. That one's looking very nicely put together right out the gate. Looking across, we see 2 Ankos already, 7s and 7s for the Pinzu and Sozu. Also a pair of the White Dragon and some other good ones. That's also quite a formidable contender here. And on the left, some pairs in various suits, and also the north. That could, now an Anko of the north, and that's your Yaku locked in right there. Again, that Dora can possibly drive this value up a little bit more, perhaps. Travis picking up another pair there.
Interesting call to swap out the 9. Are we?
I mean, this is getting closer to
Is this a
Suanko
Sanako
now.
attempt?
I'd say even Suanko. Seems to be committing to something like that anyway. Best part
That'll
about
be interesting to see where that goes.
Right. The best thing about a Suanko weight at this stage is that you can always bail into Toy Toy if you need to. We're only halfway through the hand.
Yeah. I'm wondering if the Haku is trapped, whether this shifts to Toy Toy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there's a 6, so that's Tenpai if you drop the 5. You'll be waiting on the 4 and the white. Do you go for Ricci here?
Decisions.
Or do you go for greed? You're in the lead, but not by much.
I reach here.
Yes.
Yep.
I think that's a good call. Of course, both Haku's already discarded,
Oh,
waiting
but the
on just
Haku is
2
dead.
4s, but there's the 4! It doesn't matter!
Oh my god.
Ricci Ipatsu for 4,200. Not the result he was looking for just a little bit ago, but I think he'll take that.
I don't. Okay, I said I would have reached, but I didn't notice the two Haku were already cut. I would
Oh.
not have reached that myself, but
I was too busy looking at his hand at that point to notice, oh, wait, two of those whites have already been dropped. I guess he saw that too and thought, well, Suanko's not looking too great as well. I guess I kind of got to go for something, but I don't know. I would have almost. Well, I
I'm
wouldn't. I
wondering
couldn't have
if that
dominated on
was
that.
just. Yeah.
You couldn't because there's no Yaku, because again, no whites to pick up. And no triplets either. Anyway, we're moving on to East 4 already. Another quick one going in the books here. The current the current Dora is White Dragon, and we are seeing some pairs, some pretty close together pairs, and some sequences in the dealer hand at the moment. On the right, we see sequence shapes in Sozu, already 2 locked in, just like that, and a pair in Manzu. Looking across, we see some other good sequence shapes forming up. That could turn into Pinfu quite easily. Maybe. We'll see. Over on the left, though, we got 2 Doras with the whites. Can easily pick up the third. And you've got 2 other pairs there as well, with some other shapes forming up.
Boom.
Still pretty close in points heading into the end of the half here. We have Travis taking the lead. What were you saying?
I feel like
Yeet.
Luke opening his hand kind of forecloses some of the possibilities he could have had here. But if he just wants speed.
Right, and he is dealer. There's a decent shot of kind of trying to break out of the pack here. In fact, now he's Tenpai waiting on 7 Mon, 7 Pin. Looking across, that Ricci was also called just now, and they're waiting on the 6 and the 9 of Pin. Okay.
How many of those are left in the wall? 2 of the 9 and 3. That weight seems at least okay, given what we can see here.
Boom.
But Dakota's going to drop the 7, give up those 3 Doras for the Tanyao police to shut that down. Moving into...
And here I thought that 7 weight wasn't going to actually amount to anything.
We're seeing these impossible weights tonight in this game, right here. East 4 repeats now, with staying as dealer. The Dora is 5 Mon, and right now, 2 pairs in this hand to start with. A shape picked up there in the Manzu, but otherwise, it's going to take some work. You've got the ones, though. Maybe you can make a Sanshoku out of that. It's looking more and more... Well, now you drop the 1, maybe not. But we'll check back on that. Looking on the right, we see a sequence in the Pinzu and some other encouraging-looking shapes. Across, we see good presence of the Manzu. There's a sequence already locked in, and a pair as well. On the left, we see odd numbers in the Manzu, pretty much. Some shapes there, but they're not quite working together as of yet. You have a pair in the south, though, which isn't your seat, but, well, it's something. We'll see how that works out. You've got some decisions to make, though, for sure. Another east now getting picked up by Dakota. That makes 3 pairs. One of them being the round wind. Luke picking up another sequence in the Manzu there. That's going to put him a step closer.
Still needs to fill in something in that Ryokan shape there.
Yes. Well, turn into your pair, perhaps, but then what do you do with the other pair you've got stashed away? I don't know if I'd drop that 5 just because, well,
Setting yourself up for a Shabo later.
right. And those have been working, so it is slim
Yeet.
odds at most cases. But we've got Ricci called now by, not Luke, I was about to say his name again, Travis. Waiting on the 1 and the 4. 4 gets picked up
1,
by
4.
Dakota, wisely hanging on to it, though. With picking up the 1, you would get a Ipeco. And there's still 2 of those left in the wall, with only 1 discarded. Other one being, of course, in the hand. Another 4 picked up. Everyone's acknowledging it looks rather sus.
Don't.
But there's the 4 coming out.
4 does come out when the hand comes together.
Of course. At some point, you got to decide to push, and unfortunately, that was the wrong time to do so. Ricci Pinfu for Travis as we move into the second half. South 1. The door is 3, so it's getting to be that part of the night. And we do see the Dora in this hand. It's sitting all by its lonesome, though, so we'll see what happens there. Otherwise, some other good shapes in Manzu and a pair in the Sozu at this point. An Anko of the 1-so in the hand on the right. Looking pretty nice there. Some other good shapes to complement it. Looking across, we see 2 pairs, East and the 9-so, as well as a completed sequence in 1, 2, 3. That could possibly angle into Chanta of some sort. Still kind of a shot to be made, but we'll see if they take it. And on the left, we see a sequence in the Manzu, as well as a couple pairs in the other hands and some shapes that are all working fairly closely together, picking up a 1, 2, 3 sequence there.
Yeah, with that 2-so, that hand looks like it's going places.
Yeah, so now the 4-so. Maybe angling for
Still have a
Tanya
penchant to
instead.
deal with, though, so...
Yeah, that edge weight of the 9 and the 8. A 7, though. That can... It's always nice when you start drawing stuff kind of close to each other. Meanwhile, Dealer, the hand's progressing, but that Dora's still kind of sitting in there like a bump on a log. Oh, but there's a friend! That's 4 pairs now. Seems to possibly be entertaining the idea of Cheetoy. But we have Tenpai from Luke now, waiting on the 5 and the 8. One of the 8's already discarded. Another one picked up, and it goes down!
Wow.
Tanya, door 1. Cool 2000 for Many Cats here. As we move into South 2.
This game is making me want to reevaluate how much I value Shabo weights.
Yes, this is the Shabo weights PSA. Surprise. This is to teach you about Shabo weights and how good they actually are in cases. Anyway, this is South 2 for realsies. The Dora is 8-so, and we see some good sequences already forming up in this hand. There's one in the Sozu, ones that could form up in the Pinzu rather easily, and a 6 and the 8, which we'll just say is going to become a Shabo weight down the line. Why not? Looking at Dakota's hand, see some good sequences in Sozu, but check out that Manzu looking at 3
awkward
pairs.
Series of tiles.
Yeah, it looks good at a glance, but now you pick up another pair, and you start to think maybe you work with that. You do have a Dora, which you could turn into 2 Dora. Looking across, you have a 1-so triplet called, the green in the south pairs, and also a 6-pin.
And now with that 5-6, this is just a call and go hand.
Well, Dealer calls Ricci. It's not the Shabo I was thinking of, but looking for the 1 and the 4, it's a more classic, standard Good.
Sumo.
Ricci open weight and picks up
Oh.
a Patsumo right away.
Ipatsumo.
Oh wait, that's not Ipatsu because
Or
there
no,
was
there
a
was a
call of the
call.
south.
There was a
So
call.
no Ipatsu, but still picking up 2 Han with that hand. Good job there. Look at this. Now, dealer repeats. We already have a con of the 1-so. And a bunch of like 1s and 2s and stuff all around. Yeah, take some time to figure out what you're going to do with this one.
Sitting around looking at the con button, thinking, I know it's not a good idea to con
Con.
literally on turn 1, but
On
on turn 2, maybe.
why not? There you have it. Looking on 2 pairs to go along with that. You could go for Toy with this pretty easily.
I guess, yeah.
You still have some junk you need to sort through, but picking up that next 4 Mon, that's gonna help you decide things too. Should note the Dora is 7 so. With that con, we also get 6 pin, which we do see in the hand on the right now as part of a sequence with a pair and another sequence in the Sozu. Actually, a great presence of Sozu there. That's looking across. That's just short of greatness, I would say. Oh, you have that 7, 8, 9 overlapping weight. And some good stuff happening in Pinzu as well, and the Sozu. And on the left, I would say that's a contender, but looking at what we have around the table, I'm not so sure at this point. He needs to work on that a little bit more. We'll see.
Josh decides to pass up the 5, knowing that they are still... Or decides to pass up the Tenpai to go for Toy here.
But now has Tenpai on the 4 in the east, just as we mentioned that. 4 gets picked up by many cats across the table. Gonna hang on to that as it kind of fits in okay with that hand. I also say that looks a little bit dangerous right now. That east, well, they don't see an east out on the board yet. I think this is the part of the hand where you start, if you pick one of those up, you think twice before dropping it, but this time it's picked up by the dealer who doesn't have to think twice, calling that for an instant Mongon for 12,300 points.
Well, that's one reason to con is you get your 3 Han Mongon.
Yeah, absolutely. And there you go. South 2 continues now. 2 Honba on the board. The Dora is the 5-so. And, well, this hand could angle more towards Chanta, perhaps. You got the tiles on either side of the hand, especially picking up that 2-so. That's going to help towards that argument. So we'll see what happens there. Looking at the hand on the right, we have a sequence in the 5, 6, 7, a pair of the 5-so, a pair in the 4 Mon as well. Looking up across, we have an Anko of the 5 Mon. Sequence shape forming up a little bit there. Anko of the East as well just picked up, and some pairs as well. Looking on the left, we have 7, 8, 9 Mon. A whole lot of Pinzu that are looking quite nice for him. And a 7, 8 in the Sozu.
Potential 7, 8, 9 Sanchoku for Travis there. And we see a Chanta commit for Josh.
If you get lucky, you could even have a 1, 2, 3 Sanshoku on his end as well. Well, yeah, it could still happen. Well, the 2s are already kind of in the hands right now. You see one of the 3s. I think he goes for that if the opportunity presents itself, but otherwise, easy Chanta. You can extend your dealer streak here. Go to picking up the 4 Mon there. Another aggressive call, especially when you've got any Peiko waiting to kind of get itself together, which you kind of have to abandon when you call.
Each.
And now we have
trying
Ricci.
to figure out what Ishan he wants. Oh, go ahead.
Right. We do have Ricci now from Travis's end, waiting on the 6 and the 9-so. Nice weight there. But now we're 10 pi.
And the 6. Oh, yeah.
Sumo.
So, oh,
But
this is
picks up
going
the
to be a
9.
big one.
Riichi Sumo Pinfu San Shoku Dojun with that 789 and gets a Mangan of his own.
No Ura, but Mangan will easily put him into first here.
There you go. 420, waiting on a 6 and a 9 weight. Going to 420. That's extra nice. Looking at the South 3 now. We have the Dora as 5 pin. 2 of them sitting in the dealer's hand. Dakota looking to make some ground here. You could do it with this hand easily with 4 pairs right out the gate. They're also pretty close pairs, so you can make what you will with them. But there's a 5th pair right away picked up. So we better get to these other hands before that gets even crazier over there. Looking at Manycat's hand, we have a Anko of the 3 pin, a pair of the 6 mon, and good sequences forming there in the other suits as well. Up
Gee.
across we have 9 so already called. Some good sequences in there as well. Could angle for Honitsu
Boom.
pretty easily with that. In fact, with that call of the 5 so, gonna easily be eligible for that. Josh, meantime, calling the 789 pin. Oh, that tune solves that problem. I was going to say there's not really being a Yaku in that hand, but now is Tenpai on the 1-so. So definitely crazy things happening all over this table. That's got to look scary on what Travis just did there.
Yeah, that 1-so is a sneaky weight
Hmm.
for sure.
1-so sneaky weight for Josh. And now I doubt that people are going to want to drop it just for what we see from Travis's side now. Because you see all those called sets, and they're all in the upper half of the Sozu. In fact, depending on how this goes, 1-so could be their weight as well. It's not. It's going to be the 3 and the 4.
Travis keeps drawing into this and eventually gets Genie to Tenpai here. I did not see that coming with all of those scattered honors, at least not this fast.
Right. It literally came it came together right before my eyes
Yeesh.
as I was describing it. We have another Tenpai though with Travis. But now the 1 type's gonna come out and he was waiting on that too.
Oh my god.
It'll be Chun for
What a way to
Josh
go.
there. But now Riichi Ipatsu Sananko, a Mangan for Luke there.
What a tragic way to lose your lead.
Mhm. But still, only losing that lead by... Well, no, we have the new leader is Josh for virtue of staying out of that. Well, no, Josh did get a Chun out of that, but not part of the
Apologies,
major
we
points of
seem to
stage.
miss that Sananko while we were describing the other hands, but
Right. Well, there's a lot that happens in this game. We're moving on to all last, though. It's a showdown for first between 3 big players. You know, we'll see how that comes out. 7-so is the Dora. We see one of those in the dealer's hand right now. A sequence already queued up for the Manzu. Got some encouraging shapes in the other suits as well, though. Looking at Travis's hand, you have that Anko of greens already locked in. You got a Yaku, just build on top of that now. We're seeing, otherwise, a little work to be done in the Pinzu section, but otherwise, good sequences locked in as well. Looking at Josh's hand, some pairs there. Looks like we already have Tenpai, though.
yeah,
What do you
Dama
see?
on the 4-so for Travis.
Yes. Yeah, it's coming. That came together again, super quick. That would be enough to win, I believe. I mean,
Yes. That
So you've got-
would get him. Well, wait, hold on.
it would be just for the.
I'd
It'd be Hatsunomi, I believe.
Yeah, I
4
don't
now.
think that would get him
And it
above
comes out.
Josh.
I don't. Does he call it? Do you
Oh.
wait for a better weight? Something worth more? He's thinking that right now.
Oh,
Don't.
what a decision. Do you take the
Goes ahead
second?
and calls it. Yeah, you can get a very respectable second out of that, and that's exactly what he's going
And
to do.
he does decide to take the second.
I mean, it's still early on. You can still,
That must have been a really tough decision.
yeah, that's definitely one you definitely want to take your time thinking about. Think about where you're at in the season, where you're at on the leaderboard. In this case, we're just getting started, so a win's a win for, sorry, a second is a second rather for Travis at this stage of the game. He's going to go home with 9.3 points tonight. We have Josh walking away the winner though with 20.5. Luke takes a respectable 3.2. Dakota, unfortunately, despite a very aggressive turnaround in their strategy, is going to lead with negative 33. We have updated scores now. Dakota is now rounding out the end of things in 20th place. Luke with 17.2. Josh at 9th place with 4.7. And Travis takes 3rd place tonight with 45.4. So, wow, I think we saw 4 pretty different games. I mean, it was a different combination of 4 players each time, or rather, from 5 players each time. So it was pretty interesting to see how the game changed and evolved with the different mixtures of players here.
Yes, and the final game for this session for table 1 here will be played tomorrow.
That's
I
right.
don't know if we're covering it, but we're glad to have covered at least these 4 games here. They were pretty exciting.
Absolutely. We've got a pretty packed card for tomorrow night, so I think it's yet to be decided which ones we'll be able to bring you here on twitch.tv/AmericanReachy. But even if it's not covered here, you can go to our website, AmericanReachy.org, and you can find the link to our 10.0 lobby there if you want to spectate. Of course, it won't be with our dulcet tones of our voices here, but it'll still be entertaining to watch, I'm sure. So, wow, that was quite a 4-game series. That was well, one game went really long, the others went rather quickly. Still, though, that was some definitely laying it on the line. We saw some moves tonight, despite being this early on in the season. Anyway, I think that just about clears things up for us tonight. Of course, you can catch any of the streams you might have missed over on our YouTube channel at tinyurl.com/ARMLYT. Follow us on Twitter at American Reachy. You can follow me if you're so inclined at SB Singletary, where I share moments from my own Mahjong journey and awesome retro game accessories that I will probably never get. Michael, where can they find you?
I have an elusive online presence, so I don't have anything to share at the moment. But thank
Oh,
you
okay.
for tossing it my way.
Well, of course. You can find him, of course, right here in our amazing slate of broadcasters. So you definitely want to click that follow button right at the bottom of your screen and be notified whenever we do go live with some more amazing Ricci Mahjong action right here on twitch.tv/American Ricci. Any closing thoughts from you tonight, from what you've seen or what you're looking forward to moving on here?
Um, I'm interested to watch more of the B1 games for perhaps my own information as a B1 player.
That's right.
Getting to see the different play styles of my future opponents.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do we see you in the standings right now, or?
Yeah, not in the best place.
Oh, gotcha. I see. It's all good, but yeah, it's still early on,
We're
as I
working on
said.
it.
Yeah. Don't worry, me too. I'm starting B2 with not the best score, but we'll work with it. Anyway, that is going to do it for us tonight. I am Blaine Singletary. This is Michael. Special thanks to Nathaniel for guiding us through these 4 amazing games tonight. But that's going to do it for us. For ARML, I'm Blaine Singletary. Have a good night.